Yeah, that is kind of weird where someone can make money off of
your image,
picture,
and then you get sued for.
But you're not the one that gets to. Yeah, and I get it. I mean, but you didn't pay them to take your photo, so
right.
Serious.
But you didn't. I
there's
get it.
a law
I get it
somewhere,
if you said, "Hey,
yeah.
I'm paying you to take my photo. Take a picture of me or whatever."
But then you would own it because you did pay it. I don't know.
It is kind of sticky.
It's yeah. We need to find a lawyer for this.
Space law.
Space law.
7:22 right now.
Big news. I have some important news for you. Interesting news.
It's Blake and Darren's Spilling the Tea with Sandy.
K-Man's top news headlines of the day from CMR.
Well, what do you have for us this morning, Sandy?
Morning.
We actually don't hear you.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Oh, no. You look puzzled on your video, and I'm sure you will find that out. We can actually stall with some weather while you figure
What
that
is
out.
going on?
Yeah. Today's weather, by the way, dry commute. Thunderstorms likely this morning, later on. Then a chance of scattered thunderstorms this afternoon. High 86. Winds southeast at 10 to 20. Chance of rain today, 80%. It was wild weather, by the way, yesterday. There was actually a
water spout?
A water spout over land. Cool. And it was massive. And then it moved off.
Where was that? I didn't see it.
It was right around like Casa 43, the Strand area.
Okay. Yeah.
That people took some video of that.
That's cool.
And
cool.
It was in the downpour, the thunderstorms.
Yeah.
Very wild today.
Kids were really excited. They got to see thunder yesterday, or the lightning, and hear the thunder. They were like, "Ooh, we saw it."
And keeping an eye on this tropical wave that could be an issue now for the Cayman Islands. 70% chance of becoming a cyclone in the next 5 days. Showers and thunderstorms associated with a broad and elongated area of low pressure. I haven't seen that word in that description before. It's about 800 miles east of the Lesser Antilles and has a good potential of organization. And looks like it's headed right for the DR.
Yeah.
So we'll keep you posted on that. We're not hearing Sandy, so we'll have to check back with her coming up in just a second, possibly, and see if we can get some headlines from her. In the meantime, Post Malone, here's Circles now on Kiss FM. Blake and Aaron, brought to you by Subway. Eat fresh. You still there?
Yeah, I have no audio.
Oh, there you go. We barely hear you.
Yeah, barely.
Testing. 1, 2. Check.
Yeah, you're
Hello?
almost like we're getting you.
There.
It's almost like we're getting you off your computer microphone instead of.
Yeah, it was like you were loud and then not, though, just a second ago.
Oh, was it?
Now?
There you go. That's better.
That's weird. Okay.
There you go.
You can hear me okay?
We hear you loud and clear.
This is so bizarre.
Thanks.
What's going on?
Well, we'll come out of we'll come out of the song and
sure. I don't know if people on radio can hear me though. Mic check. I don't see.
You sound great now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you sound good now. What was it?
Refresh. I don't even know because everything looked okay. I'm just moving sliders around. A bit bizarre. Let me just refresh my radio stream because I think that might be a problem too. Mic check. Nope. Huh.
Yeah.
This is bizarre. Very, very strange. Okay, so they're hearing me there. Okay, so they're hearing me there. Let me see what's going on. Mic check. Okay, so that one's working. And then, but I should be in this one for, it's a bit strange. Okay, I don't know what's going on. Technology. Some days I don't know what's going on. I'm pretty sure this is not the one I should be on though for this one. So I'm supposed to be in that one, but that one doesn't pick up anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, weird. Okay, I should probably not play any commercials today because I don't think they're going to be able to hear me on radio. Because when I look at that fader, when I change the settings, that fader doesn't show me anything, and it should be picking up. Like I should see something moving. It's strange. Yeah, it's weird.
Okay.
Super, super bizarre. Let me check some things here.
All right, we got about 30 seconds. We'll come back.
Testing. Weird. I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know. Let me make sure that I haven't in the volume mixer done anything. So I've got all of these are up.
I think Mercury is in retrograde. I think that's what astrology.
That's what's causing this.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you can still hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. We're going to come back live now.
Okay, let me see what's going on here. Mic check. Testing.
84 degrees right now. Real feel 91, 70% humidity, and winds right now out of the southeast at 5 miles per hour. Another good chance of some wild weather today. Some scattered thunderstorms, very possible. Let's get our headlines this morning. We got Sandy from CMR right now on KISS FM. What's happening?
Good morning, Blake and Aaron. First of all, congratulations to the Honorable Minister, Kenneth Bryan, who's been elected chairman of the Caribbean Tourism Organization.
Okay, cool.
So this PTO conference is being held this week here in the Cayman Islands. Hosted at the Ritz-Carlton, and the minister was vying for a seat as CEO or chairman rather, and he has been successful.
Excellent. Well, good job.
So today will be the fourth Caribbean Aviation Day to be held again at the same venue, and lots of people are expected to be at this event today. It's sort of the highlight of the entire week.
Did you say Aviation Day?
Yeah.
What is that?
They talk about all things aviation.
I want to go to that.
There you go.
So yes, so it's the IATA Caribbean Aviation Day.
Okay.
Which is part of the CTO. And it's basically economists and leading advisors of the Caribbean, including the well-renowned Marla Ducaran, professor of aerospace engineering and engineering mechanics, and Dr. John Paul Clark, who's the regional vice president for the Americas, and others. They'll be doing some presentations today. So it's a highly anticipated event. And yes, lots of people come in to speak at today, specifically at today's event.
It reminds me of the air show that we were supposed to have.
I was just going to say, maybe they could have a little chat about bringing the proper air show.
The air show was supposed to be for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, if you remember.
Yes.
And now that she has died, what are they planning to do? Are we still going to do the air show? Is it going to be?
They said they were going to postpone it, but now this is time where they could organize getting a real air show coming in, because that was the problem before, right?
The problem was
COVID. COVID and unvaccinated.
COVID regulations, with some of the pilots. And they couldn't come.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I wonder what's going to happen. Yeah, that's a good question. Not sure. So congratulations to the minister. K-Health expands healthcare benefits. So this is an announcement coming out of the Health Services Authority, says that it's improving access to what they call sustainable, high-quality primary care, healthcare, for more people across the Cayman Islands by expanding the K-Health program. So the program will provide more personalized care for persons accessing their primary care physician in their districts.
All right.
Yes. So this is quite interesting. The HSA continues to expand its services. Last night at the Ritz-Carlton, there was a little bit of an event that occurred that we're trying to get further details on, but apparently a certain politician was getting touchy, feelsy, hands-on with some of the female attendees. And a phone call had to be made to have him removed.
Really? Who was that? Are you gonna
more to come? More to come there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you gonna mention it today on your show?
Yeah, I'm gonna mention it, but
Are you gonna mention the name on your show?
Mention it all.
Not necessarily at this early stage. We're waiting for the government to make a statement.
Oh, okay. Oh my.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, indeed.
And is that somebody in office right now?
Yes. A
Oh,
current
my.
MP.
Oh,
Huh?
my. Oh, my.
Mhm. Yes, that's your morning tea.
Oh, my.
Alrighty then.
Steaming hot off the presses.
It's steaming hot.
Alrighty then.
Yes, well,
Oh,
y'all have a good day now.
oh, boy. Come on. And
We'll leave that. I think yeah, well, we'll let
we're
you
still in the 10
handle
days of mourning.
that.
Come
We'll let
on.
you handle that.
Oh, boy. Were the drinks flowing? I'm guessing the drinks were flowing.
Oh, yes, as usual. One too many.
Okay.
Ooh, wow.
All right, catch Sandy's show on Bobo 89.1 FM. We'll see you tomorrow for your Thursday headlines.
Awesome.
All right?
Have a good day.
See you later. Good luck. We're all counting on you.
Thanks. All right, folks. I'm not sure if the radio audience, my apologies, is going to be able to hear my introduction. So I do need you all to tell me because something's a bit missed with the audio today. But I will play it and you tell me if you hear it or not.
Peppermint, sorrel, ginger, beaver grass, or English. Get it ready. Your morning tea just got hotter.
Ooh, honey child.
On the cold, hard truth. Bobo 89.1 and Cayman's #1 talk show are bringing you morning talk like no one else. Monday Rewind, Impact Wednesdays, Caribbean Connections, and much more. Don't miss a beat with what's happening in the local community. Just keep sipping your tea.
What a mess.
Here's your host, live and direct from the Cayman Islands, Sandy Hill.
Yes, thank you so much. I hear that we're loud and clear on the radio and you were able to hear that introduction. I was just curious because it seems like I'm always changing my settings on this board. So I don't know what's going on. But anyway, needless to say, we'll try to figure it out. It's supposed to be very logical, these things operate in logic. So I have no idea what a guan. Anyway, good people, good morning to one and good morning to all. Hope that you guys have had a pleasant evening. Okay. So, that's my little finger typing. All right. Okay. Yes, folks. Thank you. Okay. So, oh Lord, why? Here we go again. You ever feel like you're on what's the name of that movie, Groundhog Day, where things keep happening? You're like in you're a little hamster on the hamster wheel. And I'm convinced, you don't have to tell me what you think. I'm convinced that some people cannot help themselves. Do you think a leopard can change its stripes? Can a leopard really change? Are people capable of any deep and meaningful change, or are we only capable of superficial change? Give it to me straight this morning. What are your thoughts? Because I am beginning to wonder. Yes? Huh. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. So this is kind of like, this is the age-old question. Can somebody truly change? And the more I live, the more I'm convinced that for most people, change just isn't possible. That's a bit of a sad indictment on us as human beings. Because the truth is, we're capable of talking the talk and just cannot get it together enough to talk or walk the walk, right? So that means that there's something inherently wrong with us as human beings, perhaps. They said the Lord made us in his own image, but boy, did he screw up. he needed to go back to the drawing board, honey child, and start all over. He needed to scrap Bobo and TD number 1 and 2. Why am I having these musings this morning? Well, as is usually the case, I'll be trying to mind my own business, but that never seems to really work out all that well. Minding my business, I'm in the business of minding other people's business. So as it turns out, minding my own business just isn't the way to go. And I start hearing these reports of an incident at the Ritz-Carlton. Lord Jesus, have mercy. Morning, Miss Vanita, Marshall, Miss Darlene, how are you? Joining us from the UK, Alice is here, Olivia, Stephen from the UK as well. Miss Iva, Juanita, Scott, bless you this morning. Wee, Miss Daisy, Diania is here. She says the intro on the radio was all good. So there was a politician, allegedly, let's use that word, but you know if I'm bringing it to you, it goes so. Okay. So there's a politician at the Ritz last night misbehaving, and I had to think to myself, damn, how is this even possible? Getting touchy-feely with civil servants. I do feel for civil servants, and I'll tell you what. The good Lord knows why he gives some people the patience of this isn't even having the patience of Job. This is just maybe people don't want to lose their jobs, because the day somebody decides to just really punch somebody one good time in the face for touching them inappropriately. One person described it as the person was biting on them. I said, what? Biting? What the hell did you just say to me? Oh, Lord Jesus, the good Lord knows why it wouldn't be me. Because somebody going to the HSA that night, and I can tell you what, it might be me as well, but I would dare say that the other person is going to get some of my fingers right in their eyes, and I'm gonna pull a Tiffany Conley, and I'm gonna kick them in the gonads. I'm gonna kick them in the nuts. That's how that's gonna go down. Caribbean people, y'all have, women in particular, I want to speak to y'all this morning. You have learned to accept behavior that is disgusting. It's vile. It just shouldn't be happening. You should not be victimized as a civil servant, as a woman in this community, as women, even as beauty pageants. Some of y'all beauty pageants, and these men be coming at you with the most disgusting behavior. And you should not have to be subjected to that sort of thing. And when you're subjected to it, y'all try your hardest to be the ones that keep your cool. And, I think maybe that's part of the problem. It's a problem that no one has really stood up to these politicians and say, not today, Bobo. You're not going to touch me today. There will be consequences for your actions. Absolutely disgusting, quite frankly. And so I'm waiting for somebody to make a statement on this. Hopefully the good minister will be having something to say. I don't know. He's now head of the CTO, and this happened at his sponsored event last night. Yes. So Is he going to have anything to say? Or is it going to be another Miss K-Man where we don't say anything? You know? Ay. I mean, we just have got to raise the bar. I can't imagine going to an event. You know, you get your little hair done. See, I got my hair done. You put on a little bit of makeup. There you are trying to be professional, do your job. You work in media. You know, you have a role to play. You're trying to cover this event and also maybe have a good time, enjoy the little finger food that they provided for you, the hors d'oeuvres or whatever. After all, you're at the place of ladies and gentlemen of the Ritz-Carlton. And then somebody approaches you with this kind of behavior that is not very gentlemanlike at all. Well, I dare say that in that moment in time, I would have to be not very ladylike either. Like there just has to come a point in time when people say enough is enough. You understand me? And enough is enough, Caymanian people. We have got to stop it. I am just so disappointed. Every single time I hear a story of drunkenness and lewd behavior and inappropriate comments and inappropriate touching, and I am just like, what is wrong with you? Now, there are some people who the sort of cusp of their problem is they have an issue with alcohol. Let me put it more bluntly for those of you who may not be fully understanding what I'm saying this morning. They're alcoholics as your MPs, both past, present, I hope to God, not future. And they can't hold their liquor none at all. And unfortunately, you know, alcohol has a way of bringing out who you truly are. It's like, remember a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about the ruby being the truth teller, like the ruby forces you to tell the truth. Well, for some people, alcohol forces you to be who you are. And who you are is not a very good person if you want to know the truth. You can't help yourself when you're drinking. When you're not drinking, you know, you're able to keep the collar up and pretend that you're this upstanding individual and, you know, blame everybody else for your problems in life and, oh, it wasn't me and I'm a victim. But when you start to drink, and I don't know if you remember what you do when you drink, but all of the bad behavior comes out. And it's not the first time, it's not the second time, it's not the third time. This is an ongoing situation for many, many, many years. And I've heard too many men and women come forward who have had situations with drunk MPs who, quite frankly, I am just like, this. Do you guys not have people around you who truly care about you? Who can tell you the truth? Who can tell you, listen, Bobo, stop the drinking. Don't ever touch another glass of anything called alcohol, okay? Go to AA. Get counseling. You're an alcoholic and you should never drink. Because every time you drink, CMR gets to hear a story. And, you know, even to CMR gets sick and tired of the story, of all these stories floating around. It makes all of us look bad. You're supposed to be representing the people of this country, and you don't do a very good job representing us, I'm sorry to say. Is it too much to ask you not to drink and get belligerent, or drink and start to touch women that are not interested in you touching them? It's inappropriate. It's unprofessional. You know, the women in the civil service have to put up with so much of this behavior, both on the job and off the job. But it's even worse when you're doing it in your official capacity on the job, I must say. You can't get away from these guys. Some of them, when they become ministers, all of a sudden they start walking around people's desk and whispering in their ears and touching them and stuff. And I'm just like, what is wrong with you? it's just unbelievable, and it has to stop. So as we continue to fish out the details of last night of why allegedly a certain MP had to be escorted from the Ritz, one victim said he bit her. Other victims are like, this man was touching me. I don't want this man touching me. He's drunk. This behavior needs to stop. I hope that the minister, who's now CTO chairman, will be issuing a statement on this. KK said something about it. He didn't see nothing, can't speak on it. His words. No. That simply will not be acceptable. We all know that it happened, and there will be deniers as usual who will, want to believe a certain narrative. Now, here's the situation. The last time we had misbehavior with, not the last time, but the last time it was very, very public. We had misbehavior with Mr. Bush, and he ended up going to court, and you know how that situation panned out. A lot of people came forward in his defense and said, this woman was doing this and that, and she's an expat, as though somehow that means that you don't have any rights to not be touched or whatever. But there you go. And there were all of these comments and whatever. So I'm waiting this time to hear what deniers will have to say about it, because these are two Caymanian women of the soil, okay? Brackers, Caymanian, Savanians, whatever y'all want to call them. So this is not someone that you can conjure up stories about, and we might go, oh, well, if she's an expat, maybe they're right, because this is what y'all do in your brains. You try to justify bad behavior, and you go, oh, all right, maybe. I don't know her, so who knows? No, this is people who are going to go, oh my God, this victim has been, in this community her entire life. I know her mama, I know her sister, I know who she is. And this is not the kind of thing that, she's going to be making up or tolerating, or, I don't even know how much these victims are willing to speak out. Are they going to file police reports about this kind of behavior? Because any unwanted touching is a criminal offense. Y'all don't seem to understand, but you do not have the right to go up to people and touch them sexually or otherwise, okay, without their consent. There is such a thing as battery, and y'all need to keep your hands to yourself. Sexual harassment is real. Now, sadly, there's a lot of people, politicians and others, who don't take it seriously. I remember when the Compass did a whole series last year on sexual harassment, and what a lot of you do not know, and by the way, just to my guests, I see you there. I'm going to come to you in just a second. The reason why the Compass did that whole series is that I can't remember what her title was at the time, but she was like the editor-in-chief or manager or whatever. She's one of the big honchos over there, making $200,000 a year. She was subjected to sexual harassment by a wannabe politician during an interview for a hosting gig before they had to cancel the talk show. Remember, they were looking for a co-host. And the story goes, this young man shows up for the interview. And during the course of the interview, he somehow thinks that it's appropriate to talk about his donkey penis to this woman that he doesn't know, that he's never met before. And I'm just, when I heard the story, I had to pause and say to myself, and again, we want to excuse people's bad behavior. Oh, well, she's an expat. Did he really say that? Or maybe she's misunderstanding his Caribbean, demeanor, way of speaking. No, he actually was talking about the size of his penis. And I'm thinking to myself, Miss Judy, don't go anywhere. I see you. Just stay right there. I'm thinking to myself, who does this? This is 2021. Dude, you just ran for political office. You didn't get in. But who goes around talking about their private parts to complete strangers? Right? And so for people in this community to even think that they could get away with that type of behavior, to me, is just absolutely disgusting. And our poor women, who are mostly the victims of it, some men too, but the men, Lord, they don't want to speak up when it's another man, because they're like, oh no, I don't want anybody to think I'm gay, heaven forbid. you're being subjected to sexual assault. It doesn't matter what your sexuality is. But nobody wants to speak on this scourge in their community. Nobody wants to tell these MPs that I don't care who you think you are in your head. You are nobody that is allowed to break the law. You know, you fall in the same basket as everybody else. You're not special in any way, shape, or form. And I'm just really perturbed that as much as I try to speak on this issue, and we've got MPs who've been accused of sexual assault, who have been accused of being child molesters, like known child molesters, like one particular individual and their relatives. I've had so many victims come forward over the years, way before they were even an MP, and y'all still electing these fools to public office. And it's like everybody in the community knows it. When are we going to raise the standards of what is acceptable and what is not acceptable in this community? You know, I'm just so sick and tired of the unprofessional behavior. We elect you for public office, paying you guys a very decent salary to do what you do. And you mean to tell me that we can't even expect you to just behave? Not even, listen, let's set aside for a second, like actual performance, getting stuff done on behalf of the people of the Cayman Islands. Whew, that would be asking a lot. But just common decency, morality, behavior. Don't be, you know, jumping in somebody's DMs, talking about their private parts and how you want to hook up with them and what you would do to them and blah, blah, blah. All of you have wives. All the MPs have wives. Well, almost. All of you have wives. And I can't help but think that your wives are also turning the proverbial blind eye. They know what's going on. They have to know. Because if I know and Tom, Dick, and Sue, and Bobo, and TD, and everybody knows about it, how can you, the wife, sit back and not know these things? And you sit back silently and you have nothing to say. Your church members know about your reputation. And try and hush about them. They don't even want us to have decent sex education in this country so y'all can stop having 4, 5, 6 children that you can't afford. Because, oh, you must be chaste and prim and proper and don't have any premarital sex. Well, clearly that message isn't working very well for the churches. Look at what's happening in this community. It's utterly ridiculous. Right? And they're not the ones who are going to come to your rescue when you got 4 or 5 children. You can't find a place to stay. You can't pay your utilities. You can't pay rent. You can't do this. Right? You're having to haggle with NAU. You're about to get kicked out. It's so funny because I don't see the churches stepping up, helping you all then. But they're the ones, because of their so-called want to pretend, want to be morality, why we can't have proper sex education in our schools. Why we can't make birth control free for everybody, because clearly y'all need it. Johan, good morning. He says, any man that tries to manage you or feel you up, not name Mr. Hill, is going to be in a world of trouble. Yes, you are going to be in a world of trouble, because I am not going to be your victim. You can try to victimize me, but not today, Bobo. And I feel like every woman needs to start taking this approach. And Dean says, stop beating around the bush and tell us what happened. Well, I just told you what happened. 1 too many drinks, inappropriate touching, biting one of the women. Now she says, remember, there's 2 sides to the story, sometimes true. You know what? Sometimes there's just the truth. And again, we're not willing to accept the truth. Somebody can go out there and do something 50 times, right? And the 51st time, here y'all come again. Oh, well, I don't know if they really did that, you know. I think we need to give them a little pass because, I don't know. It's like, really? How many times do you think there's a third side to this story when the person keeps doing the same thing over and over and over and over again? Oh, KK says she's either scared of the government worker or they have something going on. Listen, these women don't have nothing going on with this individual who's approaching them last night. I don't have any qualms going on record saying that. You know, the continued misbehavior. Thank you, Peter. Where is the code of conduct? So there's a code of conduct for the ministers, but now we can't hear about a code of conduct for Parliament. Well, I hope to God at the next sitting that this will be something that will be prioritized, because believe me when I tell you, we need it. Anyone that you see in that legislative assembly that is objecting to a code of conduct, you listen very carefully during the debates and you take note of who has objections. The ones who will object and who, well, I don't want this in there, I don't want that in there. They're the ones who are the problem. They're the adulterers, the fornicators, the child molesters, the sexual harassers. They are the ones that you need to keep a keen eye on. It's 2022, folks. Can we not get a handle on this? Cayman has never had a hashtag #MeToo movement yet. What is wrong with us? We just not ready? Is it going to take another 100 years for people to say, I'm sick and tired of being sexually harassed? I'm sick and tired of being sexually abused. I'm tired of being your punching bag, your victim. You know, everybody has the right to not be subjected to you in your drunken, lewd, disgusting behavior. And it has got to stop. Because I don't know if y'all have not realized yet, but here on CMR, I don't care who you are. I don't care who your mama is. I don't care who your daddy was 50 million years ago. I don't care who you think in your head that you are. You could be the governor, the premier, right? Prince Andrew. The truth will be spoken. And so if you don't want to end up on the streets as Mall Road discussions and talk and whatever, then keep your hands to yourself. It's very simple. I always tell people the simplest thing in the world is to stay off of Mall Road. I mean, it's pretty simple. Just toe the line. But you all don't seem capable of towing the line. Mr. William Levy saying, why is that the church's decision and not the people? Because people are afraid of the church in this country. Do you not know, William? It's why we can't get so many things done. Because apparently the churches carry some power in this community beyond, I don't even know. But yes, we can't educate our children properly, even about child abuse. Can I tell you this one? Because these so-called Christian schools are saying, oh, no, I can't teach that curriculum. That goes against our religious beliefs. So your religious beliefs open up your children to being victims in this community. It is shocking, but it is the reality, folks, that we are having to deal with. Real Deal says Cayman is hypocritical when it comes to the issue of sex. Don't want to talk about it. Don't want to confront the issues of sexual harassment, etc., and don't talk about the churches. Somebody needs to talk about them. And Dean says we need to shuffle up the House of Parliament. Well, you know what you need to do is during the election, you need to shuffle some people right out the front door. Now, I get it. Sometimes you feel like, well, I don't have much of a choice but to vote for this person because, A is okay, B is worse, horrible. So you feel like although A isn't perfect and A is a pervert and A has issues, you're like, well, which pervert am I going to choose? And so you might be picking the pervert that you already know and not going with the one that, if I put him in, I'm not sure what his performance is going to be. Believe me when I tell you that sometimes, folks, you have got to just take a chance on somebody. And if they don't perform, they get 4 years and then we get rid of them too. All right. So I don't want to be rude because we do have guests, all 300 of you watching the show this morning. Don't touch that dial, but we do have some guests. The police are here today and we're going to be talking to them about road safety. Ali, good morning. She says only one keeps doing this over and over again. And the one that keep doing it to get away with his disgusting behavior over and over again. The outcry for a code of conduct came right after then goes the way of the dodo bird. Nothing gets done, and he continues to be a menace to society. You know, Allie, I wish I could tell you that this was only one person in the Legislative Assembly. I wish I could tell you that. But there is more than one of them. Now, some have a long history and a very, very long reputation. But, boy, let me tell you, there's a few of them out there doing some stuff. You know that it's bad. Let me tell you all this, and then we're going to invite our guests in. You know that it's bad when someone gets appointed to a board, young lady, and the first thing people call me and say, Sandy, who's she sleeping with? And I'm like, what? They're like, come on now. This girl has no experience. Nobody don't know who she is. Nobody don't even know who her mom or dad is. Okay? And she gets a board appointment, and people are talking about, well, why is this particular minister showing up at certain events that she's at when ordinarily he wouldn't be there? And this and the next thing. Even oh, Lord Jesus, don't y'all get me started today. Lots of questions. And I'm just like, wow. All these questions coming at me about a single board appointment. And these MPs think that they're fooling us. Miss Darlene says right now we need to know who are the churches that's taken the stance. Put them in a collective basket. Because one observation that I've made about the churches, my dear, is that they refuse to speak up on anything except the LGBTQ plus community. They're not going to speak up in crime. They're not going to take a stance on child abuse. They're not going to take a chance on sexual harassment. They don't take a chance on homelessness. They don't take a chance on a stance on the economy and the plight that people are finding themselves in. So all of them are in a collective basket, the Ministers Association, of sticking their head in the proverbial sand and willing to address any of these social issues. And a lot of the social issues are because of their so-called Christian stance in the community. Because they believe that as long as you wear your skirt down to your ankle, that, you know, no man is going to be able to lift that skirt up and get you pregnant. That's what they're teaching these young children, evidently. And it does not work. So yes, they are the reason why politicians are afraid to do things like offer free sex education. They're the reasons why your children are out there as clueless as they want to be, having 4 or 5 children, but every time the church door open, you push them into church. Oh, go to Bible study. Right? They're keeping people willfully ignorant. And maybe that's to their benefit. I don't know, because that's why every Sunday the church door is full of the biggest fornicators, child molesters, criminals, and whatever that you've ever seen. Good morning, Miss Shirley. Shirley says, hit it, Sandy. Morning, Stephen. He says these churches are like a cult. And I'm not trying to unduly pick on the churches. I'm just telling y'all what I know to be a fact. The politicians are so intimidated by the churches that they cannot make the right social decisions and implement social programs on your behalf that will, nobody wants to talk the truth. When you come talking about you need NAU, you need social services, you need assistance. And we say, okay, tell us a little bit about your situation. Oh, I got 5 children. Number 6 is in my belly and on the way. And we're like, what? Why? Why do you have so many children? In this day and age, you can barely afford 1 or 2. Okay? Very few of you are in a financial position where you can afford that many children. But every time the church door open, you up in church. Your mom, I tell you must go to church and you must repent and you must do this. And yet, when you were being molested as a little girl and you went to that same mama and told her that so-and-so just raped you and sexually molested you, oh, heaven forbid. No, I'm not going to believe that about them. They're an upstanding person in this community. Try and hush your mouth. That's what's happening. Let's go to church and pray about it some more. That's what they're going to tell you. JD says the Bible instructs a rapist must marry his victim. And some want to use such backwardness to legislate modern society. Cara says it was Mighty or Mo last time, and I never voted for none last election. None seemed fit. Man, I'm beginning to believe that, I hate to tell people not to vote, but my gosh, JD says separate church from state. It's like an undercurrent, JD. You know, I guess in some ways on the books it is kind of a little bit separate, but not really. And so we can't be honest about these things. All right, KK, we're going to take a pause on this and invite our guests from the RCIPS into the program. First of all, we have PC Jody Ann Bowery, who works in the, I believe you're still in the PR department. Is that right, Miss Jody Ann? You have to just unmute yourself. There we go.
Good morning. Good morning, Miss Amy. Yes, I'm Jody Ann Powery, and I'm the police media officer with the Media and Communications Unit in the
Wonderful.
RCIPS.
Well, welcome to the program, and thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having us.
This is your first time, so we'll try to go easy on you.
Well, it's my second time, but it is Superintendent Ebanks'
Yes.
first time.
That's
Yes.
right. You came on, was it with NRA before?
Yes, with Miss Pandui.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Now I remember. Okay, beautiful. Then we have Acting Superintendent, Mr. Brad Ebanks. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning, Sandra. Thanks for having us.
Yes, they got me a little bit riled up today, but that's all right.
Yes, I was listening.
So good to see you. We really appreciate you guys coming in the program. You know, another issue that's of grave concern to people in this community is the number of traffic deaths that we've had. I think, are we up to number 10 or 11 now? How many have we had for this year?
No, we've surpassed that. We're up to 12.
Oh my
12
God.
fatalities on our public roads for this year.
And that's a record, is it not?
It is considerably high for the last 3 years prior to 2022. We've had 9 fatalities. So
And there seems to, unfortunately,
major concern for us because within the last 4 years, we have had 39 deaths on our public roads.
Oh my gosh,
39.
that's horrible. And there seems to be no abatement of this issue. I mean, it just, well, let's talk about it. What is in your mind? I mean, Superintendent Ebanks, I suppose you see a lot on the roadways. What is in your mind the top, if you had to pick the top 3 issues with driving on our roads, what would you say is the crux of all the accidents and road fatalities that you see?
Inconsiderate driving, poor driving habits, speeding, first and foremost, and drunk driving under the influence of alcohol are some of the main contributing factors for accidents on our roadways.
Right. And all of these things are avoidable. All of these things can be addressed by the actual road users themselves.
Yes, very much so.
Wow. So, whenever we talk about, oh gosh, there's another fatality, there's another, drunk driving, another child standing up in the car without a seatbelt or, a child seat, the thing that people always say, well, maybe we need more police patrols. Maybe we need a police officer at every single corner. We're going to turn into police state because we, the people, are incapable of doing the right thing on the roadways. When you hear people saying, we need more people in the traffic unit, we need more police officers out there, what's your response to that type of thinking?
That is true to an extent, but persons need to accept responsibility for their own driving, for their own driving habits. We have increased the police presence in the eastern districts. We target particular key times and locations. We have a good analyst unit that can actually direct us to where the accidents are happening, where the offenses are happening, and those are the areas that we target on a specific days and specific times.
But without the drivers, as you say, taking some degree of accountability, I suspect very little will change except you'll be ticketing more people.
Yes. One of my pet peeves, Sandra, is that we've seemed to have adopted a culture where we have little regard for the laws on our roads. And why I say that is because social media today has really allowed the local community to know within a short period of time when there's a serious accident on our roads. And in a short period of time after that, you still see people driving careless, speeding, erratic driving. When I was growing up, when there was a fatal accident or a serious accident, everyone was so careful on the road for months and even years after that. Today, within an hour, 2 hours after, people are driving like nothing happened. And that's a serious concern for me.
Unbelievable. Well, we know that the elected officials are looking at trying to, I guess, legislatively address some of this. And one of the things that will be coming up, hopefully, in the next House, the next sitting of Parliament, is going to be to reduce or cut in half almost the legal drunk limit, which is actually quite liberal, if I could use that word, in terms of what we allow before you're technically considered to be under the influence. And that is significant because then you'd be able to arrest more people and hold more people accountable. Can you tell us a little bit about how drinking impairs your ability to be a good driver?
Sorry, Sandra, you were cutting out there. I didn't get all the
Sorry, I was
question.
just asking if you could tell us how drinking impairs your ability to be a good driver.
So I think that in terms of alcohol and blood alcohol level, I think the first thing that need to be understood is that alcohol affects everybody differently. And sometimes it'll affect the same person differently on different days. There's no prescribed amount of alcohol that you can drink to say that I've had my limit now. I've reached my 100 liters of alcohol per, or 1 liter of alcohol per 100 liters of blood. Like, there is no prescribed way of knowing that because it's different for everyone and it's different for even you, depending on what your day was like that day. Did you eat properly? Did you, are you feeling ill? It's different for you every single day. So, that being said, what alcohol does is it reduces your reaction time. For instance, if you are a driver, so it, I suppose, makes you feel a little bit more relaxed, and so your reaction to driving is different. It's reduced. So if somebody stops in front of you suddenly, your reaction to make sure that you don't end up in a collision is that much less. And it's just one of the ways that you can describe that. The effects of alcohol.
If I could add as well,
yes.
It all depends on what you drink as well. You may drink beer, which is a lot lighter alcohol than say a strong drink. But just to remind the public as well, Sandra, is that while you may not be over the legal limit, if your ability to operate a vehicle is impaired, you can still be arrested. So just to bear that in mind.
Yes, because that might fall under another offense like careless driving or something of the sort.
Yes. Or under the influence of drugs while operating a vehicle. So you don't have to be over the legal limit to be responsible for driving.
So we have a comment here from Rocky, bit of a question. He says, nobody uses indicators in the roundabouts in the Cayman Islands except for a few. And about 10 years ago, I was pulled over by an officer for not indicating in the roundabout. Why is this no longer an offense? Is it a requirement? I was actually thinking about this a couple weeks ago because I was in Miami and driving on, I don't know what interstate that was, but they have these notices up, and one of them says to use your indicator is actually the law. Is it the law in the Cayman Islands that you're supposed to use your indicator?
Yes, it is.
Yes. Yeah.
The thing about the traffic law is that the traffic law is strict liability offenses. And what that means is that the offense needs to be committed in front of the officer in order for there to be a prosecution. Now, there are certain ways around that, and it's one of the questions that you wanted answered today as well, where if an offense is committed in front of a civilian member of the public, and for instance, they have a dash cam, and they wish for that person to be prosecuted, then what they would need to do in order for that to happen is to file a police report about the incident, provide the footage or whatever evidence that they managed to collect, and then they would have to give a statement and be a witness in court
If
in
it
order
goes
to
to
also be
court.
able to.
Sometimes just providing the information when you call the offender, they're willing to just cop to it and said, yeah, that's me in the dash cam. Yes, I was driving. And so it doesn't necessarily have to go to court from there. So that's a possibility.
Right. But it depends on the complainant's request as well. Yeah.
So Michael says 90% of the time they don't use an indicator anyway, much less in the roundabouts. I think that this is true. And, a lot of times the importance of using one's indicator couldn't be underestimated, because when you're driving, if you know what another driver is going to do, you can be a good defensive driver. You can drive appropriately. Of course, you need to be giving people enough space. But I've seen so many accidents happen because people are guessing, where someone is turning, what's happening, because of something as simple as you don't use an indicator. It's on the car for a reason, right? So, you would think that people would use indicators. Now, I think this was earlier this year. There was a criminal trial, not related to traffic, but the police were reviewing footage and testifying about footage in court about a robbery offense. One of the things that detective said, which I found to be particularly interesting, is he said, this driver used their indicator a lot. Like every time they were changing, they used their indicator. He said normally, from an investigative perspective, there's two things that we know: that either a new driver or a woman, a female driver. So I thought that was interesting. That new drivers a lot of times will be more compliant with certain road rules, like using your indicator, and female drivers then tend to be perhaps a bit more compliant than their male counterparts when it comes to that sort of thing as well. Have you made those observations, Superintendent, on the roadway?
I'm sorry, Sandra, you're cutting out quite a bit on my side.
Yeah, I think you might have a little bit of a, I don't know if it's an internet issue but I'm just going to mute PC Jody Powery for just a second, because I don't know if you're picking up on any interference from her, but I was just asking the question if you've made any observations about who will follow the road rules more, because I was just saying that in court, one observation is that new drivers tend to, you do things like use their indicators more, as well as female drivers. And has that been your experience from a traffic perspective?
I wouldn't be able to comment on that right now. I don't have those stats on gender.
Okay.
I'm so sorry, but I couldn't put
that's okay. One other question that someone had sent in to me a couple of weeks ago is, do you guys, when you talk about statistics and information, do you collect any information about who is actually involved in a traffic accident, like where they're from, who they are? I mean, obviously, you know who they are, but because the reason this question was being asked is someone said, in their opinion, one of the contributors to all the traffic accidents is that people are coming from certain countries that either they weren't driving previously, so they have no real driving history, or they come from a country that is a little bit lawless on the roads as well. Do you guys keep any of that information statistically?
Our database allows us to put in nationality, and actually I did ask for an audit a few months back, because there were discussions around the same thing. And the analysis showed that actually it was about traffic tickets, that some nationalities were not being ticketed, while some were. And we found that it was not so. It was actually pretty much across the board. In fact, to be honest, it proved that the nationality they asked about in particular was actually ticketed more. So yeah.
Which might mean that does that mean that they're creating more traffic offenses by extension? If they're being ticketed more, one might assume. Possible.
Didn't be able to comment on that, but they're being bad.
All right, we're going to bring you back in here.
The law, whoever breaches the law, we deal with them accordingly across the board. So, yeah.
All right.
If you follow it, we'll deal with you.
Okay.
Regardless of your gender.
Yeah. So we have Jonathan saying that he sees at least 5 accidents a day. What are we averaging at the moment in terms of how many accidents we're seeing on our roadways?
We're averaging about 200 accidents a month. That's what our statistics has shown us. So for 2022, for 2021, we had 2,415 accidents, and for 2021 to date, had 1,794.
That's 2022.
There is some good news. Yeah. Yes. So, but there is some good news. So far for this year, up until these stats, for this month, we have 59 accidents. So if we keep on that trend for September, we will have around 120, which would be considerably less. Saying that we're averaging 200 a month.
Wow. All right. We do have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller, and welcome to the program.
Very good morning to you. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Very good. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Walters.
Good morning.
Your voice is recognizable this morning.
Yes, we heard that voice many days.
I could miss the show this morning.
Oh, good. What's your question or comment today?
Speaking about signals. Signals are long enough the road to warn on the motorists of your intention. Now let's talk about possible four-way junction. If you, I always tell students, if you plan to turn left, you should position to the left, because if you come from, let's say you come from the glass house and you want to go left, stay left, and you're indicating left your position from your intention. Your indicator flash to the left, stay left. You can't stay in the center of the road, blocking who want to go straight to the hospital.
This is at the four-way junction at the hospital?
Correct.
Okay.
Can you imagine you want to go left and you stay in the center of the road and you can flash left?
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand why drivers do a lot of the things they do, to be honest. Okay.
Doesn't make sense.
No, surely.
Indicating left, and you're in the center of the road. So you should let your position come in.
Yeah. Absolutely.
As I said earlier, the signals are long enough to one of the motorists of intention.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it.
Oh, all right. I could make Miss Jordan left this morning.
All right, my dear. Thank you so much.
Have a good day.
Take care.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
All right, folks, 936-2626. That's 936 mobile is the telephone number. If you have, a question or comment for the RCIPS, specifically relating to traffic this morning, please feel free to give us a call. We have Blair with a comment. It says reckless driving needs to lead to suspension. Alcohol only magnifies the reckless driving. Go to the stoplight by pickup every day. You could gain revenue every day. To his point, do we have, I haven't really seen this in Cayman, but I know in the States, you had like traffic officers stationed at all of the schools, because those areas tend to be around school pickup time. Very, very congested, and people tend to break the rules coming in and out of areas that should be taken extra caution, because it's actually people's children sometimes getting on buses and trying to cross the street or getting in vehicles. And I hardly ever see a police officer in the vicinity of school pickups. Why is that the case? Like in
Um,
the school zone?
well, I'm not sure because I do know that our community officers definitely do monitor school zones. And I myself, my son goes to Savannah Primary, and I've seen a lot of mornings either Mr. Matthews or PC Garcia out there with their speed radar guns because remember at the school zones during school time when the lights are on, um, the penalty is doubled and the speed is reduced by half in that area. So speed zones are 15 miles per hour, all of them, during school zone times. And those are indicated by the flashing lights that NRA has so graciously put up there to warn us about it. And so it's $20 every mile over the limit normally, and in school zones is 40. So we are definitely out there. But I will, or superintendent will get back and make sure that we do have a more visible presence in the school zones, especially in the morning and afternoon times.
So we're understanding that there's a little bit of feedback. I'm not sure who it's coming from. So I think Jody, if you can do me a favor and just mute yourself when you're not speaking, because there's some sort of feedback that's coming through and people are actually picking it up on the radio and stuff as well. So thank you guys so much for your comment on that. So I'm going to unmute and then mute yourself.
Right.
So,
okay.
I'll do the
yeah.
same.
So
I'll do the
when you
same.
want to speak, you can just unmute it and jump back in. Superintendent Ebanks?
Yes.
So do you think that we have enough coverage in the school zones?
We should. We should. If it's not happening, certainly I will look into that immediately. As I mentioned, I'm not sure if I mentioned, but we did increase the traffic unit capacity in the eastern districts. And normally we would have had officers at the Savannah Primary School. We've added 2 officers to the Clifton Hunter, and I'm in the process of adding another officer now for East End and North Side. So certainly if those things are not taking place, as mentioned, I would certainly look into that immediately. But that is part of the community policing rule, is to make sure that we have officers in the school areas in the mornings and in the afternoons to not only for safety, but to regulate traffic.
Yes. Okay. Well, hopefully we can see a bit more of that. I mean, we do have an officer on the waterfront every day trying to help direct with traffic congestion because of the cruise ships and stuff coming in. And I think that maybe the schools need to be made a little bit of a priority as well. So good morning, caller. Welcome to the program. Let me unmute you. There you go. Hi, caller.
Morning.
Morning.
I wonder if your guest could talk a little bit about safe distance, because when you try to keep a safe distance in certain places, people fill the gaps so quickly that in essence, in order for you to keep a safe distance, it means you keep falling back in the line because they keep filling the gap. Can you guys talk about that in safe distance a bit?
Yep. So thank you so much, caller. So what is, I don't know if it's in the traffic law, but what is considered a safe distance to be between vehicles when they're driving?
Well, it's not in the traffic law specifically. What it is, though, is in the road code. And the road code is the book that we study whenever we're going to do the driving test to get our driver's license. And in the road code, it says, I believe, please don't quote me to the T. I took the test a long time ago. But I think it says that a safe distance is at least a car length behind the vehicle ahead of you. And in specific weather conditions, especially when the roads are wet, you would double that, or whatever distance is safest.
Okay. All right. So at least one car length. And of course, again, to your point, let me get you to mute yourself again. To your point, weather and road conditions can make a difference. Mr. Brad, we now have fancy cars that try to help you. I've got one of these cars. It's always trying to brake for me. And it just reminds me of how the sensors are picking up that you're getting too close to a car and the car thinks, okay, you're not slowing down. I need to take control of the vehicle and actually brake for you. So I guess that might help, but there's no substitute for the actual driver being in control of the vehicle. Is that right?
Yeah, some of the new vehicles now have auto braking. So if you're traveling too fast, and you're approaching the vehicle too close in front of you, it will activate the braking system. So that's a safety feature, just in case you're not paying attention, or you've fell asleep on the wheel, or any situation where you're not able to brake in time.
All right, we do have a caller who's on the program. Good morning, Oops. So I just want to remind our callers as well. I'll call them back because I know they were there waiting. When you call into the program, just a reminder to please mute if you were listening to it on the radio. Turn that off or completely volume down so that we don't get any feedback from you coming in over the air line as well. Hi, good morning, caller.
Hello.
Hi, good morning, sir.
Yes, I want to clear that up for you.
Oh, yes.
On page 23 of the road code, it says it should be one vehicle length for every 10 miles per hour.
One vehicle length for every 10 miles per hour?
Yes, I don't think so. I know so.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
So if I'm driving 40 miles per hour, I should have four vehicle lengths between.
Yes.
Okay. Wow, that's a lot of vehicle lengths.
Yes, and that doubles when the road is wet.
I think most people are definitely not doing that. Well, thank you so much.
I didn't say so. It's the road code.
It's the road code. Appreciate it. Oh, and by the way, are you not supposed to be getting me a copy of the road code? Someone was asking if.
Check your WhatsApp. It's there.
And okay.
Make sure I'm saying the right thing. If on your WhatsApp, it's there.
Okay. All right. Yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
It's check page 23 on WhatsApp.
On the road code. All right. I'm going to have a look right now. Thank you. So, Mr. Brad, as you can see, I drive on Cayman roadways every single day, and I don't think I've ever seen this road code. And this is something that I do definitely want to speak about because, I returned back home many moons ago, but I never had to take a driving test. I just, I've been driving in the US for a while. So I just converted my license over. Is this part of the reason why some people don't know the road rules and perhaps are ending up in more accidents than they should be?
Quite possibly, Sandra. Some countries, and don't ask me to list them, but you can actually get your license converted to a Cayman license, but it could be a contributing factor.
All right, so I do now have a copy of the Traffic Law 2011 and the Traffic Control Regulations. Thank you so much to the caller for providing this to us, and we can now access this. And it's available in a PDF document. So really, they say that ignorance is no excuse. Jody, sorry, I just need you to mute yourself again for me. They say that ignorance is no excuse. And, certainly when we have all these laws and regulations that are easily available online and can be sent to each other via WhatsApp or whatever, I think it's a fantastic idea to ensure that we avail ourselves of this. And despite the fact that I can admit this morning that I've never read it, I think I should probably take a little bit of time to do so because it would make good sense.
Yes, and everything is really available online today. So,
no excuse.
Read of it. Yeah, whoever wants to familiarize themselves with the requirements of the roadways, they have access to it.
Yeah.
Everyone either has, I would say everyone has a computer, but everyone today has a smartphone, which is a computer in your hand, actually.
Absolutely. So we see this is the Traffic Control Regulations 2012, and the road code looks like it's the last section. So perhaps we can go through this morning some of the important elements of the road code, but I think it definitely, here we go, the road code of the Cayman Islands embedded right in there to make life super easy for everyone. So again, if you don't know the road rules, that could certainly explain why some of you are simply not following them. So a couple important takeaways this morning. We've already learned that it is the law for you to be using your indicator, and you should be trying to use that. They've got everything in here from, the side of the road that you're supposed to be driving under, moving off with full control, and some other tidbits. So we'll go through some of these perhaps this morning, time permitting. So Live says one of the best ways to prevent an accident is to simply utilize the brakes. I see drivers instantly get an attitude when they're in the right and would rather have an accident happen. So that's crazy. But I think what Live is saying, instead of people just maybe sometimes you got to slam on the brakes a little bit, their position is, well, they're in the right, so they're going to just push their way through, even if it results in them getting hit or being involved in an accident. That sounds a little bit crazy.
A little bit crazy, but it does happen.
Wow. Michael has a question. He says, is it illegal to be driving a vehicle that is smoking like crazy? A lot of them rolling around too. Michael, when I first read your comment, I had to kind of chuckle to myself and I said, well, what's your vehicle smoking? What kind of cigarette is that? But yes, we get your point. So, one of the things, and this is probably outside of your control, I don't know if this is something in the road code or the regulations, whatever, but this is an environmental issue as well. I'm very, very surprised. And I hope that this particular minister, premier, will take this on board as a premier who's really about the environment and sustainability. But I don't know why in Cayman we have nothing as part of the passage of your vehicle that includes an emissions test. Listen, for at least 25 years now, because I remember it being in place before I even left Florida, there was emission testing that was required, and it was meant to address this exact same issue. Some of these vehicles don't have proper exhaust systems. They're spewing out all kind of pollutants in the air, in the environment. And so your vehicle had to meet a certain emissions level before you could get it passed for inspection. We don't seem to have any of that here.
There is an offense. It's called omitting noxious fumes from your vehicle, which is a ticketed offense. So we do enforce that as well.
Anybody ever get a ticket for that? Because I see these buses even. I'm like, oh, they're the worst offenders.
I don't know how many tickets have been issued recently, but we have ticketed persons for those offenses. In fact, I've written a few myself.
Okay. All right. So Rocky says RCIPS could break a record of tickets issued if they place a patrol in each roundabout. So to Rocky's point, one of the major sort of areas that we see a lot of accidents tend to be roundabouts. So can we list the top 5 accident-prone areas on island? Do you have an idea? Definitely the A.L. Thompson's roundabout I think it's technically the Butterfield roundabout, but that has got to be number 1 or number 2.
Well, what we can do is we can give you just a general idea where accidents take place the most. So what we found is that majority of our collisions take place in the Georgetown area and West Bay Road area of the island. And those accidents tend to take place either during the lunchtime hour or the going home period. So what we find is that it happens when there are a lot of cars on the road and everyone is in a rush. And that coupled with the fact that, again, people don't really indicate on the roundabouts to say where they're going. And as Mr. Walters said, don't keep in their correct lane or intentions by maneuvering their car in that way. People don't know where each other are going, and impatience and discourtesy, and it causes a lot of collision. So we find that a lot of our collisions, most of them take place either between 12 and 2 or 5 and 8.
Mhm. So someone's asking me if I can provide a copy of the road rules, which I'm now in possession of. So I'm just going to get a link here for it because absolutely, this is, I mean, everybody, like I said, should have these things readily available to them. And if you don't, surely there's no harm in sharing this information. So let me just get the link and then I'm going to put it in the comment section. Share it far and wide, folks. We all need to know what the rules are and so that we can obey those rules as much as possible. So Doss says, why aren't decoy vehicles deployed and switched out when with manned units randomly to keep drivers honest?
That has been some discussions that we've had in the past, but really has not been finalized. And and coincidentally, actually, I thought about that this morning on my way in. There were some persons doing some surveying on the side of the road in the vicinity of the 7 Mile Beach roundabout with the high vis jackets on, and I could see the traffic slowing down. And when I got to the location and I saw that there was someone doing some surveying, and I said, maybe we may need to revisit, that idea. But fully support it. It is a good idea, and I'm sure it will have a positive effect.
Okay. So let me just see if I can get these. Oh, it looks like I need to close the document first. Let me just do that and see if I can get you guys this document. And then, yes, by all means, as I've said, try to share this with everyone. Okay, very good. Right. So we have some questions coming in from our WhatsApp audience. So one person says, what are the rules for emergency responders? I nearly got hit head on by an RCIPS traffic truck driving in the wrong lane. Now, I always thought that emergency responders had an obligation to follow the same road rules as well, even in the case of an emergency.
Yes, very much so. While traveling or responding to an emergency, we must take into account the safety of other road users. But at the same note, when if you're driving and you hear an emergency vehicle approaching, pull over, safely pull over, and stop. Let that vehicle pass until the safety continue on. Certainly, if that incident took place, I would certainly want to hear from your caller.
Okay. All right. Miss Andrea, thank you for your comment. She says Savannah is a nightmare because I have seen motorists speeding in the school zone. So again, looks like we need a little bit more, especially during the pickup and drop off times, a little bit more patrolling. Cameron, good morning. Haven't we been aware and discussed these issues for years? What are the changes needed to make solutions? Well, I think one of the big things, Cameron, is obviously an education of the general population. Because if we're not following the road rules because of, we don't care or we don't know what the road rules are, that is clearly an issue. And, part of the reason why the RCIPS is on here this morning is really just a general plea for people to be guided by the rules that do exist and act accordingly. I think you can have all the rules in the world and you can try to enforce them as much as possible. But if the individuals who are, behind the wheels, the individuals who are on bicycles and riding on the wrong side of the road and, not giving enough car length, like nothing will change, Cameron, unless, as the superintendent said earlier, people take some degree of accountability when it comes to their own responsibilities driving on the roadway. It's a privilege to have a vehicle and to be able to use our roadways and to be able to drive, but that comes with a degree of responsibility as well. So Chevrolet says, but a lot of people don't adhere to those rules by the school zones. And if there were officers stationed there for the whole period of this time. So again, calling for more police presence at the actual school zone areas. Ingrid,
So
good
as
morning.
you
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Go ahead. No, Superintendent, you can
Ms.
go ahead.
Sandra, sorry. Yes. So, hence the reason we are here. We are here to talk about the driving habits that we're seeing. We're here to talk about the enforcements that we're doing. Several times a year, you would hear me come on the radio, and you would hear us start to advertise or talk about enforcements operation that we're doing to curtail this kind of driving behavior. But I just want to say it is up to the individual and even their friends and families. So let me encourage everyone that is commenting today to go away and have this as a conversation. Who can we talk to that we can ensure that we've done our part, that when they get in a vehicle, they don't drive carelessly, that they don't drink and drive. Yeah. So everybody has a part to play. It's about safer communities, safer roadways. So rather than having a discussion about maybe where you're going this weekend, let's discuss how we're gonna use the roadways safe this weekend. How are we gonna get home if we're drinking? Do we have an alternative plan? Yep. Let's talk to our kids about not speeding, not driving recklessly. Well, let's do our part.
All right. Would you have another caller to the program? Good morning, caller, and welcome to the Cold Hard Truth.
Good morning, Sandy. How you doing?
Good,
I
sir.
have a question.
Sure.
Just to find out how accurate are these speed guns and when last and calibrated. Because I have a family member. I get a speeding ticket a couple of days ago. And I am sure something is wrong. Because that person, if I have that person to carry me somewhere, I have to say, slip over and let me drive. And she get a speeding ticket in 57 in her 40. And she don't even drive 40 miles per hour.
Okay.
I am telling you, but her belief system is different. She believes God and things, so she say everything is for a reason. So she does take it and she gonna pay her speeding ticket and she gone about her business again. So we just ask them to see if the gun is calibrated properly and if it's working good. So I'm actually 95% sure that that lady not doing 57 miles per hour.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. So, question is, how often do you calibrate the speed guns? Because this gentleman is swearing for his friend because she always drives slow. That there's no way that could have been her that day.
Our speed radar guns are relatively new, first of all. They have been upgraded, I believe, either last year or the year before. And our traffic department regularly services the radar guns. However, if somebody has an issue with a ticket that they received, be it that they feel that they were given the ticket unfairly, then you have until the day that the ticket was issued to be paid. And on that day, you either have the ticket paid prior or you attend court at 10 o'clock on that day and you can speak to the magistrate and explain why you feel the ticket was given to you unfairly. And then the judge would make a decision in that. So if you do feel like you have been given a ticket unfairly, you do have the option of going to court and explain.
Okay.
That must be back with evidence.
Yes.
That must be back with evidence if you not just you tell the judge that you wasn't speeding, you were not speeding. But just to further answer the question is that our radar guns are very, very accurate. And they're calibrated on a regular basis. In fact, that is one of the requirements before the radars are used. So if there's an unfortunate incident where someone has been ticketed, as Jody said, they have that option of going to court and producing evidence to the magistrate that they were not speeding.
Right.
But
okay, another caller on the line. So good morning, caller, and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Sandy. I just wanted to make a comment with regards to traffic policing. Now, I think we all are aware that a high percentage of police vehicles we see on the road are not really part of the traffic department. They are on other duties, whatever they are. But what I would like to say on that score is that I think all uniformed police officers driving police vehicles, they should, when they see a blatant disregard of traffic rules, they should stop the vehicle that is offending, or rather the driver, but and make them aware. Let's say if you see somebody, you're in a police car, you drive behind somebody, you see them making several changes, course changes, either lane changes or anything like that. They never use an indicator. I think you should go ahead of them and say, look, the indicator is there to be used. You don't need to save it till you sell the car. You know, you should use it now. You know, or if they see a vehicle without tail lights, stop them and say, okay, here is a note. Within 24 hours, I want you to come to the police station and show where you got your tail light fixed. And so on. You know, it's just general. I mean, I am not a police officer. I'm not a trained officer in traffic rules, but I know most of them, I think. And you should, you know, any police officer that is in uniform and driving is on duty, they should be observant of people breaking the law, you know, in which impact safety. I mean, with vehicles they may have been able to pass the inspection when they were at inspection, but since then they hit something, and one front light is out along with the indicators, and then the back indicators may not work, or the brake lights may not work, or they don't stop at stop signs. They just keep going, and things like that. And I think if a police officer observes that, should make an effort to stop the vehicle and bring it to the driver's attention. Say, we're watching you, boy. You know, and if you want to keep on driving, you need to do better. And if they catch somebody that is flagrantly, which happens often, by the way, certain type of car, and I'm living on Northwest Point Road. Okay, there's a big bend in the Northwest Point Road. And several people have had serious accidents there. Some people have gotten killed there. Yet every morning when I walk my dog, I see some people thinking they are in the Indianapolis 500. You know, and you know, there's somebody ought to make them aware. It's not always about prosecution. It's just making people aware. Look, we're out there, we're looking, we're seeing. And if you can't behave, we're going to pull you over the side of the road. We take your car key and you can walk home or wherever you're going. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. So lots of questions and comments, folks, coming through this morning. Again, feel free to call in 936-2626. And we do have our viewers online who also have a number of questions and comments. So Miss Andrea says, no, Sandy, you have to do the test. There's no conversion. So let's clarify this, because somebody else said before you can have your license converted, you should have to take a Cayman Islands test. But is that actually the case? I mean, I've been driving for a while now, but I know at the time I didn't have to do anything. I just got a Cayman license.
So I think that it depends on where your initial driver's license is set. There are some countries that are full members of the Geneva Convention and be converted. And then there are others who are either partially, or there are other rules, and they would have to be tested. And by tested, I mean the written test. Written test would have to be done in order for them to be able to convert.
Right.
So it depends on
where you're coming from. All right. Strong Will says, good morning, Sandy. The officer at the port is the best. The dancing officer, well, professional. So people like him. He is entertaining and professional as well. Marshall says, well, now we see why there's so many accidents on the roadway. No one is following the road code. Well, apparently, Marshall, a lot of people don't even know what it is. So Jonathan, I'm not sure what this specific bit was in reference to. So Jonathan says, sounds like to me, whoever is conducting these driving tests needs to be checked up on. Do you guys, Superintendent Ebanks, are you of the opinion that the driving test itself needs to be a bit more stringent? We had this conversation, I think it was last week or the week before, but I found it a bit peculiar that people, like, the same test is given instead of having like maybe 10 or 15 variations of the test that are automated. You know, the computer kind of switches up the questions, maybe ask the same question, but like in a different way. But it seems like it's very much the same test so that people can, you know, take it and fail it and then go back and know exactly what they're going to be asked and go back in and pass it. Do you think that there needs to be more done with the testing, like the written test, as well as the road test, perhaps needs to require more of individuals?
My concern would be with the road test itself,
Mhm.
Sandra. You know, as we know, the theory or the written test is one thing, but the ability to go on the road, negotiate, you know, roundabouts, negotiate intersections, drive defensively, being fully aware of all traffic around is really the true test of what you're going to do if you get that driver's license. So that would be my greatest concern.
Right. So Doss is wondering who controls the lights in the school zone. Are those automated?
Yes, they're automated. They are serviced and monitored by the National Roads Authority.
All right. So Alv Barnes says, are all traffic cars equipped with devices to read the new barcodes? So Mr. Peter brought up this point as well. There was a time when you guys had a separate traffic division, and then that was done away with. And then I think you've now brought it back. But to Mr. Peter's point, can any officer, I mean, I would think so, if he sees or he or she sees you being in breach of any of the road codes or road rules or whatever, does any officer have the authorization to act as a traffic cop and to stop you and ticket you accordingly? Or is that just for the traffic unit?
No. I would be real concerned if a traffic offense occurred in front of an officer and it wasn't dealt with. Yeah, we do have the traffic unit who specifically deals with traffic offenses and investigation of MVAs. But we do have other officers that are trained to use the radar gun and the outstations as well, and Cayman Brac and the Sister Islands. And we do target problem areas, or what we call hotspots for speeding, traffic offenses at, you know, whether it's particular times or particular days. But that's everyone's responsibility, every police officer's responsibility to make sure that any offense, whether it's traffic or criminal, is dealt with appropriately, especially if it's committed in their presence.
And to the superintendent's points about any police officers, I was formerly a detective in the criminal investigations unit, and offenses would have been committed in front of me in my plain clothes in a unmarked vehicle, and I would have felt the need to pull over that vehicle and have a conversation, if not to prosecute, but to at least let them know that their driving behavior was not up to par with what it should be. So I do know that, and I wouldn't have been the only detective who would have done that in the past. So definitely any police officer can stop and speak with.
All right. So another WhatsApp question. This person says, has this ever happened? File a complaint and submit the video. Is it a violation to flash an oncoming car to warn motorists and the opposite lane that police are running radar. So I think I can probably help with at least the first question a little bit. So I have submitted CCTV footage before of this was an incident. Actually, there was more than one, but there was one in Savannah where someone coming out of the Savannah gas station came to my left, came around the vehicle, and actually utilized that, like they just created their own lane. And this creates a problem because as a driver, I'm not expecting to see people so blatantly breaking the road codes. So I'm not looking to my left to see if cars are coming. I get into the roundabout and I'm looking to the left from the roundabout, not from like behind me. So I think, again, people ignoring the road rules and creating their own lanes and, you know, doing all this sort of stuff really makes it more likely that an accident would happen. Because again, if I didn't see him out of my peripheral vision and he ended up pulling out the exact same time as me, thankfully I was going to be in the right lane coming out of that roundabout and not trying to get over to the far left to go down Hearst Road. Because if that was my maneuver, that would have been an accident right there. And again, it's just careless driving. It's someone who doesn't have the patience to wait all of 10 seconds to have their turn coming out of the Savannah gas station. And so I caught that on dash cam footage. Thankfully, my dash cam is a 3-way because it became, quite ironically enough, they were driving a Honda Fit and it was a blue Honda Fit. There was another blue Honda Fit right behind me. So if I didn't realize that there was actually two identical color vehicles, identical make and model, you know, people might have assumed, and I think when we posted it, some people were thinking it was the one right behind me. They're like, oh, well, they have the right to make that maneuver. And I said, no, this is another Honda Fit that bypassed that car and me and created their own lane. So this is where, folks, if there's one thing I would recommend, it is definitely having a dash cam on your vehicle. It can be your saving grace. There was another incident coming out of, this was a couple of years ago now, coming out of South Sound, like by that light, you know, those apartments that are right there. I think they're called Sunrise condos or something, like at the end of South Sound as you're coming into the Hurley's roundabout. A mother was coming from the opposite direction, 5 o'clock traffic, like in the evenings, you know, lots of traffic on the roadway. And she actually had an infant standing in her lap, driving the vehicle as she was then turning into that complex. Unfortunately, for some reason, my dash cam footage wasn't picking up or recording at that particular moment. And so when I contacted the RCIPS, they're like, oh, without the dash cam, although I had an eyewitness, a passenger in my car who also saw it, they were not willing to take a statement from the two of us. They were essentially saying that we needed to have the independent dash cam footage, which I thought was a little bit weird, but yes. And we do have a caller back on the line. Good morning, caller. Oops, let me unmute you.
And good morning to your guest.
Good morning, my dear. How are you?
Not too bad. I'm thankful for each new day.
Beautiful.
Thank you. This is a question for your guest, and I thank them for being on. Time after time, we've been seeing, mostly in the nights, but even sometimes in the day, that people are crossing with blue lights. Some are green. The other day, I seen night. I seen a car coming towards me or a vehicle coming towards me, and it was like a Christmas tree. Just 3 cars behind that was a police car, and we had just crossed another police car. When is this going to stop? Then in the daytime, I was sitting waiting for the gentleman to just call in, Peter, that's my husband, at Kirk Home Center. Now, the trucks that are coming from the port goes through Borden Road, and they are huge, huge trucks. And I'm sitting waiting there on the steps, and I counted 14. Out of the 14, it could have been the repeat of the 14. But out of the 14, it was 11 breaking the speed limit. Now they have to turn in to Bodden Road, and there's cars coming out of the Bodden Road, going on the left, going on the right.
Mm-hmm.
And you could hear them grinding down and screeching down. Now that is a place that government would make a lot of money, because some serious accident, God forbid, is going to happen there. And I'm saying, oh, I could be a watchman for the police. All kinds of things is coming in my mind, and I say, oh my God, I even close my eyes to some of that. You know, I don't know whether they are paid by the trip, by the hour, by what, but it's ridiculous, because that road isn't wide. That is sort of narrow. There's people walking there as well. So I just want them to know that's another spot that they should check out. Thank you very much. Good show as usual.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. So a lot of concerns about truckers on the roadway. Just 2 days ago, we posted that one of the truckers contacted us and say, people are always complaining about us, but let's be honest, some of these other drivers are just really poor drivers as well. And that dash cam video actually showed someone pulling out a bit of a close call right in front of a trucker. And, truckers need a bit more time to stop. They cannot stop immediately because of the size of the vehicle. And obviously, a lot of times the load that they're carrying as well.
Yeah, a lot of times they're laden.
So just a few more questions before we have to let this particular set of guests leave us. And then we have some other guests coming on. So Cameron says, do new model devices, breathalyzers, and speed guns have to be gazetted? Only asking, as I remember someone used that as a defense in court and actually won.
Yes, they are required to be gazetted, and they are.
Yeah. Okay. So the RCIPS learned their lesson with that lost case for sure. Strong Will, it says, good morning, Sandy. People do not respect the pedestrian crossings, and also they be speeding. Even when the light is on, they do not stop. So this is a serious concern, because we have had a number of accidents and even on occasions fatalities involving pedestrians where drivers don't see them. They're not paying attention to pedestrians. I know for a fact that part of the problem for that is how roads are designed. Like, if roads are not designed to be pedestrian friendly and really force drivers to be cognizant of cyclists and pedestrians, you are more at risk for being a victim of those types of accidents. Let's take 2 more questions or comments, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. This person says, morning, please ask the police. 2 cars coming down the road, police there with a speed reader. They read a car speeding and stop the wrong car. It's happened to me. So how do the speedometers work if you have 2 cars that are side by side? How does it distinguish the cars in which lane in terms of, which one is actually speeding?
Okay. So the new speed guns, Sandra, are actually capable of picking up multiple vehicles at the same time. And it gives the speed of every individual vehicle. Yeah.
Okay.
So they're very accurate. And again, as we alluded to, if the persons feel like they were not speeding, and they have that option of going to court and proving otherwise. But we have top-of-the line equipment for speeding enforcement. And there was another question
about flashing. Yes.
Sorry.
This is the one about flashing to warn people.
Yes, not that one. There was a question relative to if all the vehicles have the capability of detecting the sticker on the dashboard, I believe, or in the windshield. Yeah. So I won't comment on whether it's every vehicle, but our officers are equipped with that device that they're actually able to determine whether your vehicle is licensed, insured, or if it meets the requirements of the roadway from a safe distance, and able to have that real time information on hand.
Mm-hmm. Is it a violation to warn people that the police are up ahead doing speed traps?
Normally we don't.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead,
think
Jody. Sorry.
considered obstructing, but we would just ask people to not do it, and because you have to also play your part in making sure that our roads are safe as
Yeah.
well as police do. And one of the things that we do in order to make sure that our roads are safe is to enforce the law by stopping violators who are speeding specifically, because a lot of our serious accidents and our fatal accidents are caused by excessive speed.
Mm-hmm.
When you see us doing speed traps or, just on the side of the road taking speeds, especially on those roads that the public complains about so often, like the S-Tibbetts Highway or the CB roads, please just allow us to do our jobs, because at the end of the day, we're trying to keep all of you safe as well as make sure that ourselves are safe as well.
Yes. And I must say to that point, there was a time when CMR used to post where police were many, many years ago, and we stopped it because what we realized, it wasn't just even a matter of traffic offenses, but a lot of times these police operations end up netting more serious criminals who are involved in other things. So once we recognized the importance of these random stops, we kind of adjusted doing that. So one person says, "Good morning, Miss Sandra. I received a ticket from traffic officer," and they do name them, but we won't name them here, "either by assumption or dishonesty. I was driving, biting my fingernail, and he stopped me and gave me a ticket for using a phone without seeing a phone, and was very disrespectful and ignorant to give me a traffic ticket for a traffic offense that I didn't commit, and wasn't willing to talk in any way. He was just eager to give a ticket and had no reasonability, even though I was complying with everything he says. And now I have to either pay a ticket or something. I don't want to waste a workday in court, which is just a loss, working people, just a loss for working people in every way." So, but of course, the only way, as you guys have said earlier, to sort of do anything about this is you have to go before a judge and plead your case. And the judge might very well believe that you were biting your nails.
Yes, but let's talk a little bit more about the fact that the caller felt a little bit disrespected by the officer. In that regard, although we may not be able to do anything regarding the ticket, if you feel that an officer was discourteous, which is definitely not a part of how we're supposed to be conducting ourselves in a professional way, do have a professional standards unit where you can make a complaint. And if you go onto our website, rcips.ky, you'll find the professional standards unit, their page there, and it'll give you instructions on how to file a complaint.
Okay, very good.
As well as the sorry, as well as the ombudsman's office, who takes complaints from members of the public. But we certainly want to ensure that our officers treat members of the public in the highest regard, professionally, regardless if they have committed an offense or not. The public still needs to be treated professionally. But having said that, I've heard and seen so many, for the want of a better word, excuses. That I wasn't doing this, or I wasn't committing this offense. I'm not saying that this is a situation here, but an easy way to prove her or their innocence is just to provide their phone details to the magistrate to show that she wasn't, or they were not on the phone at the time. But I would want to say that all drivers just make sure, because phones are one of my pet peeves. going home from work, I count 10 cars, and out of those 10 cars, 5 people are on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a problem, and it's a contributing factor to a lot of the accidents that we have because people are not paying attention.
Yeah. Yeah, even if you're hands-free, mentally, if you're really involved in a conversation, it takes your attention off of the roadway. So we do have another member of the community says regarding replies to cost of speeding tickets at schools, how long does it take for a speeder to be processed through the court in order for the public to hear the fines and curtail the speeding? So, I mean, I don't think you guys have any control over court listings and stuff, but what's been your experience?
In terms of the tickets and the fines, for school zones, it's $40 per mile over the limit that you go.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the speed limit for school zones are 50. We have a maximum of $500 that we can give a ticket for, and anyone who exceeds that $500 limit, then they automatically warned for intended prosecution. A traffic offense report is completed, and they go to court either for the speeding or, in certain cases, for dangerous driving. In these instances, usually it would mean that the person would be summoned to court and it's convenient to the court. But what that does mean is that those persons who go to court for the excessive speeding over the $500 limit or for dangerous driving, they may end up being disqualified for a period of time in addition to
Mm-hmm. All right. Vanessa's asking who's the community officer for West Bay. Do you have a list anywhere on your website of who the community officers are for the various districts?
Absolutely, but what we will be doing is we will be sending out an updated list because there were some changes to the community policing department unit. But one of the community police officers for West Bay is PC Franklin, and another one is PC Joel Ebanks. But you can call the West Bay Police Station 949-3999 to get in contact with them.
Okay, folks, let's start to wrap up. JD says, oh, please, I've taken a complaint up to the ombudsman regarding one of a traffic officers harassing me in my own yard. And to this day, I get a complaint. I think you meant I didn't get a response. And I wonder why the public has no faith in you. He's meant to say I didn't get an apology. JD, did the ombudsman's office reach out to you with their findings? Soka has a very important question here about tickets for handicap parking spots. We put them up all the time as jackasses of the day. Now, I remember some years ago, the commissioner said that photographic evidence of someone parking in a blue spot and a handicap spot would be sufficient for ticketing purposes. But are you guys actually doing that? Because I don't think it's happening.
Again, it's photographic evidence along with a statement. But we definitely do ticket wherever we see violations. We didn't come with those numbers today, but we can provide them to you at a later time.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that's one of the pet peeves that people continue to disrespect the blue spot. Well, acting superintendent Brad Ebanks and the communications rep PC Jody Ann Powery, as you guys can see, you're very popular. Lots of comments and lots of phone calls today for you. So hopefully you will not be strangers to the program and you'll find your way back to us sooner rather than later. This is a continuous conversation that we need to have about the road code and safety. And, we've had, I think, what is a record number of deaths on our roadways so far for 2022. And the year isn't even over. It's only September. So, we're coming up into the height of the holiday and the Christmas season. We know that the National Roads Authority, when they were on last week, Thursday, put out a plea for private sector to get involved because at the moment there is no sort of road safety board or commission or organization or whatever. So I think that could certainly make a difference, making the, the media circus, if that's how it's said, but you know what I mean. You go around to the different media houses to educate people, educate the public. You know, if you're a new driver, if you're an older driver, make sure that you familiarize yourself with the road codes and the rules here in the Cayman Islands, and then just take a little bit of time on the roadway. I don't know why y'all in a hurry to get nowhere. I mean, literally, I've seen people speeding and cutting in traffic and using the middle lane, and they get there like 30 seconds earlier. And I'm thinking, was that worth it? Or less, because then they might end up in an accident as well. So any final thoughts this morning before we bid you adieu?
Jody, you first. I'll go after.
Sure. Traffic and road safety is a priority for us. It's always been a priority for us. Growing up in the Cayman Islands, we lose so many people to road fatalities every year, friends and family, and it affects all of us, even people who only live here for a short amount of time, get attached to the friends that they make here, and we want to make sure that everybody gets home safe at the end of the day. So encourage is that we encourage the persons that we love, especially, to make sure that they use the roadways properly, and that they don't speed and they don't drink and drive, and they don't have poor driving habits that will put themselves and others in harm. And if you are a passenger in a vehicle where somebody is driving recklessly, don't just sit there. Say something. Make them aware that they're making you uncomfortable because of the way that they're driving. And again, on our website, rcips.ky, we have the capability to receive media files such as videos and footage. And even if you don't want to provide that statement and go the extra mile in terms of securing a prosecution for that particular offense, what we can do is we can use the information that you submit as a way to gather information to know where the offenses are taking place and the time that these offenses are taking place, so that we can tailor our patrols and our strategies to fit the offenses taking place. I want to thank everyone who so far has been submitting information to us and doing their part in making sure that our roads are kept safe.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jody. And then just to echo Jody's comments there. If the person who has collected the evidence or sent us the photos, if they're not willing to assist us in a prosecution, we also have the option of contacting that person to say, hey, you were seen committing a traffic offense today, or whenever the incident happened. Just want to know that we are aware and the public is watching. And sometimes that is a deterrent, for people to not break the law. But just to wrap up, I want to say we did a quick count on the disqualified drivers yesterday, Jody and I. Just not an accurate statistical report, but we have somewhere in the region of 600 disqualified drivers in the Cayman Islands. Most of those offenses: driving under the influence of alcohol, speeding, no insurance, and even driving whilst disqualified. So we do have a considerable amount of persons that are actually on our disqualified list. So what we continue to discourage: drunk driving, speeding, and certainly if you've gone before the court and been disqualified, do not drive. We've seen persons actually sent to prison for breaching a court order, which is not to drive. You mentioned.
Sorry, I was just wondering, is there any way to make that list public, the disqualified drivers list public?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I don't think that we would extend that out to the public.
Because we could certainly help you when we see,
I'm
Bobo
sure you
next
could.
door driving.
I'm sure you could.
You're like, hello, police, he's not supposed to be driving.
Yeah. But for all, I would say for almost every disqualified driver, there's a friend or family member that knows you're disqualified. Yeah, so do their part. Whether to tell a person, no, you're not supposed to be driving, or if that doesn't work, then you have a responsibility to pick up the phone call and say, look, this person is driving and they're disqualified. Because the chances are, if they've been drinking and driving, or have been prosecuted for driving under influence, they're probably doing it again. And we know that drunk driving is a major contributing factor to our fatal accidents. And you alluded to that we're in September, and normally we haven't gotten to the end of the year, and we're already at 12 fatal MVAs. That does not include the incident at the speedway, which is not, an accident, a fatal accident, so to speak, on the public roads. But normally we see an increase of these unfortunate incidents as we approach the end of the year. So we're starting our campaign early, and we want to say to the public, make it your business to make our roadways safe. This includes Sunday brunches. We see that Sunday now has quickly turned into a day of drinking as well. Whether it's brunches, boat partying, going over to the eastern districts and consuming alcohol. So we're targeting all of those areas for persons who commit these offenses, all trying to ensure that our roadways are safe. So we want to start instilling that from now, that mentality from now, that we take this very seriously. Road fatalities are our greatest death issues in the Cayman Islands compared to any other incident. So it is a priority for us, without a doubt. And it should be a priority for everyone within these islands. Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Any opportunity that we can get to make our roadways and our community safe, we will embrace. Thank you for having us on Cayman.
All right. So we've got Joseph, who says a lot of people driving around without a license, and he knows that for a fact. This person who complained said that they're going to be contacting the ombudsman's office to be reporting that officer. So remember that officers have to follow the rules too. They're not above the law just because they're a police officer. And we have someone in Florida who shared this, saying that their county, this is Polk County Sheriff's Office, puts out this publicly every single month, the DUI arrests. And as we can see, this is May of 2020. They had quite a few people in here. They give you the mugshot and the names. This is not a bad idea, because I've seen people in court who've had multiple DUI arrests, and they're still out there again. There was an accident a number of weeks back in South Sound, pretty much a head-on collision. The lady who was driving works at one of the accounting firms. I believe it's KPMG. And guess what? Again, out drinking after brunch or whatever she was doing on Sunday. That evening, she had a head-on collision with some tourists. And that was her second DUI. So I think we need to start, in my opinion, if someone is here and they're on a work permit and they're getting DUIs, that should even be attached to their work permit, and potentially means that you don't get to remain in the Cayman Islands. Although it's only a traffic offense, it becomes more than a traffic offense once they take an innocent person's life. So I think that there's a lot more, certainly, that we could be doing. So thank you so much to both of you for joining us on the program today.
Thanks for having us, Sandra.
All right, folks, let's take a quick commercial break as we transition into having our next guest join us. And by the way, if you find yourself in a traffic accident, pay very close attention to this next message.
Recover Personal Injury Attorneys, helping injured people get what they deserve. Did you know that insurance companies have lawyers that represent their interests? Before signing and accepting any settlement, know your rights. Call us today for a free consultation at 924-9999. That's 924-9999. Recover. Your personal injury attorneys are on standby to assist.
In the mornings, no one wants to miss listening to the Cold Hard Truth or reading CMR. Cayman's #1 news platform has made your morning commute fun again. Pass this time with the Cold Hard Truth on weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Talk radio that's engaging, entertaining, and enlightening. But be careful. Some mornings it's so hot, you might run into a bit of trouble.
Are you tired of overpaying for TV services? Can't figure out VPNs? Constantly missing your favorite TV shows? And no access to the good stuff on streaming services? The frustration is real, but it doesn't have to be. Contact Roque, Cayman's streaming pros. We'll put you back in the driver's seat in front of your TV. Call, WhatsApp, or message Roque today on 926-1213. Roque is not a TV service provider. Terms and conditions apply. Crichton Properties is one of Cayman's most trusted real estate companies for over 50 years. We offer a diverse selection of property listings and help our clients navigate the world of buying or selling their properties with confidence. Crichton is a name you can trust with our excellent customer service and family-friendly touch. Contact us today to list your home, land, or condo for sale by calling 949-5250 or email info@crichtonproperties.com. Crichton Properties, a trusted Cereba member.
All right, folks, welcome back to the program. We are delighted to have up next in the hot seat, not so hot. They'll help you cool down because they're the propane experts. We've got John and Chris over at Home Gas. Good morning, gentlemen. How are you? Can't hear you. You just got to unmute yourself and we should be good to go. There we go.
All right. Good morning, Sandra.
Good. So nice to see you. Just a quick wrapping up. Someone, I think it was Jonathan, asked about whether or not senior citizens can use handicap spots. The short answer is no. Just because you're a senior citizen doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. And to Silka's point, she says, I'm a senior citizen and I park as far away from other cars as I possibly can and walk the extra distance because it's good for you. So being a senior citizen does not mean you're handicapped in any way, shape, or form, folks. If you require the use of a handicap decal, go through the proper steps that are prescribed in the law and get your decal and get yourself sorted out. So very good. Hopefully, Jonathan, that answers your question. But we've got the propane experts in the house. Let's go ahead and switch our minds over to that discussion this morning. We're going to be talking about all things propane. So a bit of good news. First of all, we have to congratulate Home Gas. You guys have new owners.
Yes, we do.
Tell us a little bit. This is when I needed that applause button. Tell us a little bit about that. I know we had announced that it was coming down the pipeline, and I think they were waiting on regulatory approval. Now all of that has been given and everything has been finalized. So you are now owned by the Foster's Group. Is that right?
Yes. And sometime between August 31st and September 1st, the Foster's Group took over ownership of Home Gas.
Mm-hmm.
And as we talked about before, we're really excited about the opportunity to go with another great Caymanian family. We're really happy to be part of the Foster's Group and looking forward to what we're going to do in the future for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is good news because, you know, at the end of the day, I think the Foster's Group has a reputation that precedes it. They own a number of different companies. They have different sort of lines of interest in terms of business. And this expands their portfolio a little bit. But in terms of your customers are probably not going to notice much of a difference. You guys are still there. You've got a great core team of workers that are part of the Home Gas family. And I'm guessing that none of that will change. Is that correct?
Correct. It's a nice opportunity, a nice perspective for a fresh pair of eyes just to have a look at Home Gas from top to bottom. But in terms of the business continuity side of it all, I don't anticipate an awful lot to change. Certainly not in the short, medium term. We're still going to be delivering gas. We're still going to be servicing, installing, fixing gas, and so day to day we should be the same old home gas.
Mm-hmm. Yep, wonderful. Okay, folks. So 936-2626 is the telephone number. If you have any questions for the fellows over at Home Gas, please do give us a call. They're more than happy to answer your questions. So far, it's been a relatively quiet hurricane season. We've seen a couple systems right now. I know that we're monitoring one or two out there. And of course, we always want to remind people that if you have a propane tank, one of the sort of greatest times of concern is during storm season. Make sure that number one, you're topped up and you're ready to go. Should we have a pending storm? And just number two, the safety of handling your propane tank, knowing perhaps when to turn off that valve and other things, are some of the things that the Home Gas team is always willing to share with us as well. So what have you got lined up for us today in terms of what we're going to focus on?
Well, one thing we could talk, since you're talking about safety right now, we could talk about an incident that a lot of people saw on 7 Mile Beach. We had to drain a tank at Beachcombers, and I could share my monitor with you. Right.
So that was on Beachcomber, just opposite the Strand on West Bay Road. There was an underground tank that had a very, very small leak. However, in order to be able to fix it without drastic remediation of road and everything else.
Let me see if I can bring that in for you.
It's necessary to drain the tank and then what's called flaring, which is to burn off the vapor. It looks quite fancy. It's not something that we necessarily want to do, but very much a needs must in case-by-case scenarios.
Mm-hmm. Now, how do you know that this has to be done? I mean, what alerted you to the fact that this was a concern?
So with every single fill that the drivers will do, with every single fill that the drivers do, they are mandated, they're expected to run a leak check on everything that is visible within the infrastructure. And so the driver in question got to the tank, he sprayed it before he even attempted to put propane in, and noticed that not only was there a smell, but there was also bubbles from when he had sprayed his bubbly mixture.
If you bring up
wow.
Can you see the photo I shared? Yeah, okay. So you can see this is it's an unfortunate situation because it's leaking. There's a little gasket underneath this gauge right here. And you can see that the gasket just over time had worn out. It's a very uncommon occurrence, but due to that gasket, there's no way to replace the gasket without draining the tank. So the only way to drain the tank to get all the liquid out of it as much as we can. And then at that point, I can show you the next slide, the next picture.
So we drain the tank of liquid first, and then to make sure the tank is completely empty, you have to burn off what's known as the vapor in order to make sure that the tank itself is completely empty. If there's any residue vapor, then of course it still has its safety implications, particularly when you are in and around the tank, particularly when it's underground. So we have to make sure that first and foremost, the tank is empty, the surrounding area is safe, and to do so, it's called flaring. We have a big torch, Olympic flame, if you will. It just has to burn off the residue, and then from there, the guys can safely get to what they need to do to fix.
Wow, that's
and
amazing.
Unfortunately, due to this location, that flare can actually go 4 times that amount of burning. So because we had to burn it on a very low flame height, it took quite a few. I mean, it took, I think, like 18 hours, maybe.
That's considered a low flame height for avoidance of doubt.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So you've obviously cordoned off the area for safety, and you have guys watching it the entire time as well.
It's entirely cordoned off. We have, I think, 3 technicians that are there at any given time. The fire service were present, and members of OFREG were notified each and every time.
Yeah, so that answers El Ray's question. He's asking for the fire service on hand during the flaring, and the question is yes, they're there just in case.
So just so everyone knows, we pre-clear everything we call 911, we call the fire service first, and then we call OFREG as well. And everything's pre-cleared, what we're going to be doing, and they come and inspect as we're doing it. So,
as you can imagine, it has to be a pretty methodical process.
Of course. Wow. So I'm glad to know, because of course I didn't know this, and I'm a propane and home gas customer, that these checks are routine, that your tank fillers, I don't know what their official titles are.
We'll call them drivers.
Drivers.
The delivery drivers, yeah, they will spray before they even attempt to put propane into the tank. And then, as obviously if they're putting propane in the tank, they'll be checking the gauge and something called the spit valve, which is on the tank, to make sure that the propane is going in safely. And then at the end, once they've removed the hose, the nozzle, they will then do another spray check to make sure that there's no issues after the delivery as well. And
Very
then
good.
furthermore, where the tank has pipework coming out of it, regulators, etc., within proximity, they will then spray all of the visible infrastructure without being intrusive on somebody's private property, just to make sure that there's no degradation. Obviously, some people can go 6, 12, 18 months between deliveries. And so every time that we come, we do what we can to make sure that it is as safe as it possibly should be.
Very good. And the last time you were on the program, I know that you guys were talking quite a bit and showing some quite disturbing photos of people who want to take, DIY courses and installing their own, propane tanks and hookups and connections. And you showed how incredibly dangerous that can be. People were not within any sort of code or regulations when they were doing that. Have you seen any abatement of that situation? I know it's only been about a month or so, but have you received any feedback about people perhaps now appreciating a bit more the dangers of actually trying to do it themselves?
I think we are still at the infancy of the project. I think
1 year in.
Yeah,
we've been doing this for 1 year already.
Yes.
But your show helped. We had a lot of people call from your show and send in video and pictures of their tanks. So being on the show is very helpful. We appreciate that, and thank you.
Yeah, a lot of people preemptively saying, "Oh, by the way, I have a rubber hose," as opposed to the driver going out trying to do an installation, not being able to do an installation. Sorry, not being able to do a delivery. So preemptively, we're able to fix before we send the driver out there.
Right.
So it's certainly becoming more well known, I suppose. And so on that basis, yes, we're finding that it's an easier conversation to have with previously irate customers.
So folks, again, sometimes you're a renter and you're not really in charge of any of these types of installation or maintenance issues. But even if you're renting from someone and you notice that garden hose is being used to run or connect the tank to your stove or whatever else you might be using propane for, give the guys over at Home Gas a call, because that's not safe. That's not a safe situation for you or your household. And you definitely, want to raise the alarm for someone to sort that out and to fix that properly. Just last week, we were discussing this on Monday's program. We saw a near disaster being averted right in a residential area with someone who was storing both diesel and gasoline in 25-gallon containers. I think one was a 250-gallon container, and then there were some smaller 50-gallon containers. Although residents had been complaining about, they were complaining about this illegal operation, I don't think that anyone recognized until that day, and OFREG had to get involved, that there was storage of what is considered a dangerous substance in a residential area in containers that really shouldn't be used as storage facilities. So one of the things that we want to talk about is that, Home Gas takes all safety precautions and all measures. They are, a licensed facility, licensed by OFREG. And I'm sure they're subject to all sorts of regulations and checks and so on, but you guys are really going above and beyond, John and Chris, the call of duty, and you're making some improvements to your plant. Can you tell us a little bit about what those improvements are and what consumers here in the Cayman Islands can expect?
Okay, I can address that, and I can show some pictures
sure,
for your audience.
Do I have to bring it in for you each time?
The final act of the Bodden administration was to identify that it was time to upgrade and enhance, update our plant. And so it's effectively a legacy project that is now being carried over by the Foster's Group. over the next, I think we anticipate probably 6 or 7 months, whereupon the aim will be to have the #1 propane plant or facility, certainly in the Caribbean region, if not Southeast America.
Just so you're aware, we began this process in every 10 years you have to inspect your plant, your tanks, and so we began the process in 2018, I guess it was, or 2019, and then during that process we had identified that we were going to take the tanks out, inspect them, and visually, which is required. And in between 2019 and 2020, we had the earthquake. Our plant, while we didn't have any issues, and as you know, as you were there during the earthquake, it did make us reconsider keeping the existing structure. So if you look at on the left side here, that's our plant is cut in half. So we have 9 tanks on each side. And the left side here with the green tile, that's the old plant, which is still probably the best plant in the Caribbean. And then on the right is the fortress that we built to be earthquake proof, has incredible fire safety systems, has tunnels underneath all the tanks so we can get the valves. There's really, this is showing you the rebar. It was just an amazing amount of rebar. This is also, I'm not exactly sure. I think it's 3/4 inch rebar. It's the thicker rebar. 7,000 PSI. This is the top of the tank where we're burying them as they're burying the tanks. Everything is anchored down with steel anchors. Here are the tunnels underneath the tanks. Each one of these tunnels even has a fire extinguisher or an automated fire safety system underneath it. And, just the safety of the plant has just gone. We're definitely the safest plant in the region. And probably, I would say we're probably the safest plant in North America. I wouldn't even say just the Southeast. I've never seen a plant built like this anywhere.
Wow. And I'm supposing you've had to bring in some experts to assist with the design of this and the layout and certainly the actual construction of it as well.
Yeah, well, for the construction, we use mainly on-island people.
Okay.
So McAlpine is in charge of all the concrete work. And then we brought in a company called Admiral LPG. They're one of the biggest ocean terminal builders in the Caribbean. They do a lot of work in Dominica and in Panama. So they had helped at Home Gas previously back in the late 2000s or early 2000s. And they were brought in to help engineer this, to work with some other companies. And I believe they have engineered the best plant that anyone can imagine. I just can't believe there's anything better out there.
Impressive. All right. So Liz, little Z, sorry, says the guy from Santo Domingo, who's been there for some time, he does an excellent job on replacing those gas tanks. He checks everything before he leaves and turns them off as well. Great job he does. So don't know which one of your drivers that might be, but Lil Z is singing their praises today.
I would think he's talking about the project manager, or she's talking about the project manager, Nelson. So
Nelson.
I
Okay.
think that'll be Lopez.
There's a Lopez, maybe Lopez.
The driver.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Lopez, maybe. All right.
All right.
So Strong Will says, good morning, Sandy. I had my gas installed with Home Gas and I had a leak. They came back and changed the regulator and I'm still smelling gas. I called it in a request about 2 months ago. All now, no one, I guess, hasn't come back to check it. And I'm in Northward. So,
please just send us a message or give us a phone and we'll get somebody out to you today.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
news to me, but obviously that's something that we need to remedy immediately.
Yes. All right, Strong Will. You're going to get in contact with the right people now who can get it sorted out for you. Do you normally smell something? Isn't propane odorless and you can't see or smell it really?
So the number one safety mechanism that is put into propane is something called mercaptan. As you say, propane as a chemical, as a gas, a physical composition, it's odorless. You don't smell it. And so as it gets pumped off of the ship, as it comes through into our plant, we mix it with something called mercaptan, which gives it that really nice, smelly, pungent odor that's then designed so that as either you have a leak, you can smell it, or if you have a 100-pound cylinder, as the concentration of the mercaptan increases with the propane, you know that as the cylinder's running out, you smell it stronger, which is kind of a handy way to know that you're running low on propane.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So Strong Will, just if you want to send it to us by WhatsApp, and we can certainly pass that information along. Any other questions? 936-2626 is definitely the telephone number that you can reach out to the guys here at Home Gas and speak to them directly this morning. So, they're just spending a little bit of time with us today just to kind of focus on number one, new officially ownership with the Foster's Group, and number two, just updating you on where they are with the complete, build out, if you will, of a new plant facility, equipment that is, top notch, world-class design, structure, and construction, which again will allow them to continue to offer you a safe product. And what does this increase your capacity in any way as well?
No, Sandy, we didn't increase our capacity at all. We have 540,000 gallons of storage in our old plant, and that's what we're going to have in our new plant. So there was no increase in capacity. We have 18 30,000 gallon tanks. We bought brand new 18 30,000 gallon tanks to replace the old ones. So there's no increase. One thing we did is, you can see the old plant is a lot shorter than the new plant. We went, our tanks were 4 feet below grade, and now the tanks are 4 feet above grade. So our plant height grew 8 feet in this process. And in the second half of this, when it's built, this will all be one piece of concrete all the way across. So if there's an earthquake, it'll all move together. And of course, we have all the earthquake notification built into the plant so that it'll automatically shut down. Has a full SCADA system, which is a safety system for plants, that no matter what, if there's a fire or any kind of issue with the plant, leak, it will recognize it and shut the plant down. And obviously we can manually override everything, but at least knowing that we have that safety mechanism in the background, always checking 7x24, very helpful.
Yep. Well, I can speak to the fact that even the current plant is pretty good, because as John mentioned, during that earthquake of, was that 2021, January 2021? I just quite ironically, it was 2020 already?
That long ago. Yeah.
Wow. I just happened to have been there at Home Gas. We were having a meeting, and all of a sudden I felt this trembling, and I remember looking out the window and I thought, oh, is something going on with your plant? And then when it didn't stop, and I didn't see anything, thankfully I didn't see anything exploding outside, I thought to myself, this isn't a Home Gas issue. That was an earthquake. And I want to give
thankfully it was an earthquake and not a Home Gas issue.
I know, right? But I want to give the guys over at Home Gas a big shout out, because they allowed me to kind of set up shop, and right away we were on it, folks. We were live streaming. We were, I was able to get stuff up on social media, and so many people were afraid in that moment, and just really, really thankful that we were kind of there as a voice. So yeah, crazy times. I tell you, we'll have that shared memory forever with the guys over at Home Gas. So Strong Will says, thanks, Sandy. You're the best. We need more people like you. You're doing a wonderful job. God bless you and your family. Thank you so much, Strong Will. Really, really appreciate it. And, I always say, listen, nobody's perfect. None of us are perfect. But what I like are companies that are responsive, that you're having an issue. They weren't aware of it. They've said, listen, get us the information. We'll get you sorted out today. And that's the most really that we can ask for. So I want to thank Chris and John for joining us this morning from Home Gas. They're part of the management team. Will we see anything else in terms of changes now that you're under new management, or is it mostly going to be kind of behind the scenes, organizational stuff that might allow you to run a little bit smoother and so on?
I think a lot of it will be behind the scenes. Will definitely be, there's already a lot of looking into the processes and how we're doing things, and how we're just safety. I mean, safety is the main concern. It's always been the main concern of Home Gas, and it's being reiterated by the Fosters. And we're just looking at how we do things, how to streamline things, how to make a better customer experience. Chris can talk about a few things we'll be implementing in 2022, 2023.
Mhm.
Or we've already implemented, and we'll be really pushing forward. If you want to talk about meters and monitors.
Yeah, so I think we had maybe touched upon previously some of the other safety add-ons that we have that are available, chiefly tank monitors that will be rolling out. At the moment, we have them installed in most commercial properties or most commercial tank installations. We'll be rolling them out into the residential market soon as well. The idea being that it's it's a monitor that clips onto your tank, and it can measure the amount of propane in the tank electronically. So rather than you having to go outside every day, lift the lid, see how much you've used or not used, it will let you know how much is in the tank. Furthermore, it will give you an alert. It will give us an alert when you're down to 30%, 20%, and 5% in your tank.
Wow.
So
Nice.
ideally, when you hit to that 20% mark, you give us a call and say, hey, I need a fill. So you don't need to worry about forgetting that you're running out of propane. And then furthermore, it has a built-in detection. So if there is a gas leak, if the tank loses a certain percentage, which is 5% within an hour, then it will send us an alert, whether it's 2 o'clock in the morning, whether it's 6 o'clock at night. It will let us know that there's been a major withdrawal of gas. And at that point, we can investigate. We can give you a call. We can send a technician over, whatever we need to do, just to make sure that there isn't an issue of any sort.
Very good. All right. So sounds like really great things on the horizon. Miss Janet says home gas delivered gas a few months ago. After the driver left, I went outside and the smell of gas was awful. I called the office and they gave me the driver's number. Thankfully, he came back quickly and he agreed that he could smell gas, but his tester showed no leak. We did it the old-fashioned way, and yes, you could see the bubbles, so he changed it.
Okay.
So again, just speaking to the fact that yes, sometimes maybe there's more than one way to check for these things, but he seemed to have taken his time. Miss Janet, so happy that got all sorted out.
The drivers and the technicians will have what they call a sniffer, which is an electronic device designed to detect propane, and they will also use the good old-fashioned way, the bubbles. And so, if one doesn't work and the other does, then at least we know that something has worked. For all installations, whether it be a new installation, a service, a delivery, the guys are expected and mandated to use both mechanisms to make sure that it is safe and they can go on their way.
All right, very good. Well, thank you so much for taking a little bit of time out of your busy schedules and joining us this morning. Folks, they will not be a stranger. They're going to be a regular feature here on the Cold Hard Truth. So we'll let you know the next time that they're scheduled to come on. And as they roll out some of these new operational changes or tech changes that are going to make all of our lives a little bit easier, you'll be able to keep on top of those and know exactly what's happening over at Home Gas. Let's just give people the contact number just in case they need to reach out to you for some reason. Do you want me to pull anything up on screen? Oh, yes. Shall I pull that one up there, John?
Sure, we can talk about this one.
Okay, good.
Just like a couple years ago, I think you were there, and everyone really enjoyed it. Home Gas is once again being one of the main sponsors for a Halloween event called Nightmare on the Waterfront this year. It's going to be across from Sandbar. Partners are McAlpine, Tortuga, obviously Sandbar, the Pirates, Los Tortugas Pirates, and then Rotary Club.
And all monies generated, all funds raised will be in aid of the Humane Society.
Wonderful.
A couple different charities.
Sorry, a couple of charities.
Yeah, Rotary Club and Humane Society, and it's going to be a 4-day event this year, and I think Sandbar will be planning some coinciding concert events across the street. So I think it'll be a great 4 days for everyone and give everyone a chance to unwind and relax a little bit for Halloween. Hopefully
So October the 27th, what day of the week is that?
It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Monday.
Okay. Nice. Very good. Ooh, sounds exciting. Yes, I went to the last one that you had, and I must say that it was an enjoyable time, a little bit scary, but I had a good time. So again, folks, that is going to be Nightmare on the Waterfront. Where exactly on the waterfront is it? Make sure we're all clear.
Literally directly across from the Sandbar, there's a parking lot that was used a couple months ago for Street Food Festival.
Yes.
We'll be in that same area.
Okay, nice. All right. So check it out. Nightmare.ky is the website. And again, this event always has several beneficiaries, nonprofit organizations that benefit from it. So go out and get yourself a little bit scared and have a good time. It's always fun. The kids enjoy it. It's a family event, something that you can do together with everyone. So appreciate it. And of course, definitely send this to us, and we'll be sharing this on our social media channels as well, so that everybody knows about it and you guys can go out in droves and enjoy a good time.
All right.
All right. Thanks, guys, and have a fantastic day.
Cool. I suppose one final little piece, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Right now, we're finding that it's not fun pricing to discuss. Nobody enjoys chatting about it at the minute with everything increasing. People may have noticed that over the last 3 or 4 months, we have had to increase our prices. It's a shame. We don't want to do it. Unfortunately, just market dictates that we have to do it. Over the last 3 years, we're now paying more than 500% more for propane than we did. Various different parts. A standard tank, for instance, is over 300% more expensive now than it was 2 years ago. And so it's not something that we enjoy doing. It's not something that we want to do. Much like the supermarkets don't like to increase the price of groceries, much like I'm sure the gas stations don't like to increase the price of gas. We just, unfortunately, we don't have that choice anymore. Throughout COVID, we held our prices firm, which was something that the owners, the Bodden family, took the decision to do. They took a hit financially, but it was deemed to be in public interests. And so as a result, we are finding that we do need to balance it slightly now. We have, like I say, increased costs. Funnily enough, it still makes us more than competitive compared to what the electrical companies are doing on the island. So it is still better value for money propane versus getting everything on electric. But we will be communicating in future any price increases that we need to do. With the Foster's family coming on board, everything that they do is based on a floating rate mechanism. And so you will find that as we buy propane in future and things do get cheaper again, our prices will come down. It will be far more ad hoc. It's not going to be a set price as best as we can. It's going to be when the prices come down, our prices come down. When the prices go up, unfortunately, our prices go up. But we will be operating fully transparently. We'll have information on our website. We're undertaking a new website process at the moment. But the idea being that people will know what the price is as and when they're ready to get propane.
Okay. John, did you need me to pull anything up on screen for you?
Yeah, you can bring up the slide that I just shared with you.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
So looking at the latest bills from CUC and Nebraska, if you were to convert those kilowatt hours, because all kilowatt hours, BTUs, therms, everything can convert to it. It's all just measures of energy. So if you convert the kilowatt hours of CUC, 1 gallon of propane has almost 27 kilowatts. So if you multiply it out, you can see that CUC is about $10 a gallon. Brack Power is about $11.50 a gallon for propane equivalency. And so when you're using propane, you're still saving at 50%, if not more. A lot of propane appliances, especially if you're using water heaters and cooktops, they're more efficient than their electric counterparts. So you not only are you saving half the cost of the energy, you're saving on the efficiency of the unit over the similar type of electric unit. While we understand, everyone has choices, we're trying to just help our part with electricity, and the energy for people in their houses and saving them money. And CUC does a great job. No one can argue with the services they give you. I can tell you, coming from the United States, my company, electric company in the U.S. that I had, we had a lot more outages and a lot worse service. And I think the service here is excellent from CUC. So I have no issues with CUC. We give an option. Obviously, it costs money to convert to propane, but in the long run, if you do like water heater and cooking, you will save money using propane.
Yep. And even your dryer, you can get propane dryers as well. So maybe the next time we have you guys on, we need to talk about some of the appliances that are available to be, used with propane, and how that can definitely save consumers some money. So sounds fantastic. Thank you, John and Chris.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for having us. It's been great.
Appreciate it. All right, folks, that's John and Chris over at Home Gas. If you have any questions, you can certainly reach out to them. And again, Strong will make sure that we get you sorted out today. Do send your contact details. And that's our show today. It's a wrap. There is the Aviation Day as part of the Caribbean Tourism Conference that's happening. So we're going to try to get that live stream going here for you, but we'll end this one and then start a separate live feed so that you guys can tune in for that. And as our investigations continue into what happened last night at the Ritz-Carlton, rest assured, we will be providing you with more information. We've already had someone connected to one of the victims reach out, and they said, not today, Bobo. So stay tuned for more. That's all I can tell you. I'm glad that people are finally willing to stand up. See you guys tomorrow morning at 7:30.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels. And visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.